Good morning, folks, and welcome to the Red and Ed Show, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. My name is Jay Edgar, and I'm joined today over on the other side of the screen by not Elaine. Elaine is out traveling this week, so one of her friends, DM Mortem, decided that he was going to sit in and help us out for the day and cover the news with us. DM, how are we doing today?
I'm doing all right, actually. Just had a long day. Yesterday, I actually was able to go to a friend's house and have some brisket, so I had to recover from that and a drunken episode as well. So, you know.
We are no stranger to drunken episodes over here on this channel, definitely. Any good news for the day? Anything good going on with you at all over there?
Currently, I finally sold one of my vehicles. I've been waiting for a dude to pay off for a minute. So that's good news. Other good news is I have also sold other cars to my employer recently. Oh, and I got some things fixed for him, and I cleaned up. I did my job, basically. That's good news, I guess.
That is good news here. Well, I'm thankful once again that you came over here and helped us out here. This has been quite the busy week this week, and I hope that you're ready for everything that we saw up out of this week here. To go over a little bit of what we're going to be talking about today, Breonna Taylor's indictment came out, and it turns out that none of the police officers were especially guilty in her case, or at least that's what the grand jury decided. And the people of Louisville did not care for that very much, so we'll talk a bit about what happened there. In other riot news, Jacob Blake's the officer rather, in the Jacob Blake case, his lawyer has come out and spoken out against a bit of what happened with that and where he saw everything going there. So we will see what happens out of Kenosha. And Tucker has aired some new footage from the Kyle Rittenhouse case, but unfortunately it's the footage that we saw 2 weeks ago, but still gives a good perspective as to where this case went. On other news here, Amy Coney Barrett is officially confirmed to be the nominee for the Supreme Court, so we will see what the Senate does there, and we'll talk a bit about who Amy Coney Barrett is, what she stands for, and where we both sit on whether or not she should be on the Supreme Court. In a big surprise yesterday, the New York Times has obtained and released a story pertaining to a roundabout way of saying that they are releasing Trump's tax returns. Now, they haven't released any documents yet, but they sure weaseled their way around the words to go around that, so we'll talk a bit about that. On other news, the Durham report is coming out, and Hunter Biden has been caught in, doing Hunter Biden things. YouTube is changing some of the rules behind age restrictions, and Wells Fargo's CEO has stuck his foot in his mouth. On top of all of that, I've got a pair of surprise stupidity for the end here, so hopefully you're not too surprised and shocked by what we're going to talk about here at the end of the show. It is going to be all of this and more over on the Red and Ed Show. Thanks for coming over and checking us out over on YouTube, DLive, Twitch, Periscope, and over on Facebook. And hey, if you're over on Facebook, head on into that live chat, or into one of the links that you see down below you or above you, depending on what the platform is you're watching on. And get into the live chat here, because we will be taking questions in the live chat between topics. No limit, bring it up there. Just make sure it's not overtly racist so I can read it on the air without suffering Wojcicki's wrath. Well, you are new here, so we do want to hear a little bit about you. You're not the usual person sitting over on the side of the screen, so tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in this.
Oh, well, that's pretty simple. Just life happening to me is why I get into most shit as it is. But I'm a nihilist, if I'm to label myself, I guess here's what I should say before I say that. I would label myself as an anarchist nihilist with agnostic, bullshit thrown up in there for theology reasons. Which like some people would say that certain things clash with it, like nihilism clash with agnosticism. Well, not really. He just said the idea of God. There's a whole bunch of philosophy I can go into, which is a lot of mind bending shit that no one really wants to deal with at the moment. So, and I got into politics and stuff by just thinking about stuff and how it all works. And I was actually going to school for pre-law, business, and criminal justice at one point in time. And learning all that really helped me realize that it's all a farce and that it's not really needed. None of it is, truly. And then thinking more along through those lines, keeping it consistent, and finding the holes where the issues are and what people's ideas are, what should be a certain way, can totally be fixed another way if you give them ideas of what they can do. So that's pretty much what I've been doing, is trying to teach people a little bit. But at the end of the day, too, I just don't give a fuck what they decide they're going to do. At the end, it's all gang shit to me anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that's definitely going to add a little bit of a different perspective to what we usually see over on here. And I'm used to talking to different people on here. The show that I had before the Red Net show was literally a different person every week. So
Nice.
So definitely some familiar territory for me talking to somebody that I may not have met before at any point. So glad you're here, and thanks once again for
Thank you.
volunteering to sit in and help us out.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, we have got to get into some news topics though. So it looks like over in the live chat here, I've just got Nephilim Ninja hanging out for right now. Hopefully we get some more people gathering. Oh, we just had one more here. The Chill Anarchist popped in just as I was getting ready to go back off into the news. So thanks you guys for
Nice.
coming and checking us out. Tell a friend, tell 10 friends. If you're going to be over on D-Live, I'm going to hit the live chest at the end of the show. So if you want some lemons or you want to share with your lemons, get some people talking, having a conversation, then we will fill that chest up and we will send it back out to you guys. So I think it's time for us to get started. What do you think?
I would agree with that. Let's do it. Let's hop into this fucking shitstorm.
All right. So the first thing that I wanted to cover this week is pretty much one of the first big news stories that happened this week, and that is the fact that no officers are going to be charged in Breonna Taylor's death. But Dallas County grand juries do have a different record. That's a little bit off to the side here. So earlier this week, the three officers that were involved in the Breonna Taylor death hearing, the grand jury came and found out that there is no evidence that they have crime. Now, one officer was charged with wanton disregard for safety because of shots that he fired willy-nilly off into another apartment somewhere, but because of the circumstances, because of everything that happened through this, none of the officers are actually going to be charged with the death of Taylor. So what have you seen on this so far?
Well, what I've seen through it is my own perspective through it would be that with how the way the court ruled, saying that the officers were just responding, they were doing their duty, everything like that, it literally absolves them of having taken responsibility for anything, whether there was a warrant, whether they did knock or anything like that, whether the boyfriend agreed they knocked, if he didn't hear who they were, all the evidence that says, oh, the cops were just still doing their duty, it still says, yes, they were, but they're not taking responsibility for what they did. They went in too hot. Honestly, if you come in too hot at my place, regardless if you have a warrant or not, I don't hear you or whatever, you're going to go out cold, or one of us is, That's how it's got to be. Go in hot, come out cold. So my personal perspective on that is that the cops still aren't taking responsibility for it, even though they said that the one who fired and ended up hitting somebody else or could have in another apartment is really trying to dodge the whole, like, oh, we totally gave one person responsibility, but we absolved the other three for the death because they were still doing their job, but they're using the Nuremberg defense still, as it seems. And when people say, oh, their job is not to go get shot at, you're like, but their job is to go into dangerous situations. At first, they're supposed to. People are like, oh, no one's going to take the job if you're just supposed to be killed. That's not what I'm arguing. They're supposed to be able to take those bullets first before having to respond lethally towards citizens. and it could be there should be reform and everything like that. But at this point, with reform, what you would get is a highly militarized police force. Whether it's because people want more training. Okay, with more training, you get better hand-to-hand combat skills, things like that. They're going to be trained in other non-lethal means, and then you're also going to have more people there to ensure. You're going to have like 15 cops per call versus like the 5 we have now, which is still ridiculous. I personally think, because how many people does it take to take down one person? But then you're like, oh, well, if we have more cops, more police accountability, they can ensure that this person's doing that. But that's still militaristic as fuck. They're not getting rid of it. They're just going to amp it up and say, oh, it's for the people. Also, here's what they're probably going to do. They're probably going to ask people to disarm themselves and say, hey, no, this is the cops thing. People, if they're disarmed, the cops won't have to shoot at you lethally. They can use non-lethal defenses because they won't have to worry about you hurting them. And only the people who have guns are going to be the criminals. So don't worry, if you're not a criminal, you won't get shot at because you don't have a lethal weapon. Like, and there's going to be a whole bunch of fucking spinning it around, trying to justify it one way or the other, so they can have a better trained and more liable police force. When at the end of the day, it's just more militaristic.
Very well said. I do want to stick a little bit with the topic, and so
Oh yeah,
one of the
sorry.
things going on. I mean, yeah, that is the broader point. I don't get me wrong. I appreciate the very broad point that goes along with that, and what this should do to the system that's at hand. But I mean, looking at this particular case, yes, no, Taylor shouldn't have been shot. And I love the fact that Conservative Inc. came out right away and says, "Whoa, Taylor did this and did this and did this," and she. It's almost like the Crowders of the world and the Candace Owens of the world and the people like that are coming out and saying that she almost deserved to get this, and I don't agree with that. No matter what, it.
Um,
Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, yeah. No matter what the justification is, once you try to justify someone's death by saying that their history means they were a bad
Mm-hmm.
person, then you're saying that their life didn't matter in the first place at all. It's like, oh, they had this bad thing happen, so obviously bad things happen. Karma sucks, right? That's how
Mm-hmm.
they justify it, whether it's through a religious thing or whether it's through someone trying to justify some bullshit happening to someone just because they didn't agree with who they were as a person.
Well, it's part of one of the big reasons that I could take or leave Candace Owens too, because I have you ever noticed that she's like the first one that comes out with somebody's arrest record when there is the shot off of this. When there is something
Mm-hmm.
like this that happens, she is the first one out there that has the arrest record.
Yep. It's like, look how bad of a person this person was, so therefore they deserved this. Or, hey, they were going out kind of like the Blake case as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, he was a rapist and everything like that. Oh, they weren't trying to, he deserved getting shot. I'm like, yeah, sure. I agree with that. If he actually did rape kids and all that good shit, whatever the fuck you're saying, just shoot him in the head. And if he had a knife in first, is what everyone was saying. Like, oh, he already had a knife when they showed up. If a
Mm-hmm.
knife was case enough to shoot him when he went to reach for a gun, supposedly, in his car, then they should have shot him right there.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Because knives are lethal enough to shoot someone for.
we will be
So it's
talking
like they're
about
just
that one in
justifying.
just a bit here. So I wanna
Yeah,
jump
sorry.
off that one and just stay with Taylor for this one here, and that's well, and one of the things that it doesn't matter what Breonna Taylor did, whether or not she deserved to get shot, because I mean the cops don't need to be a judge, a jury, and an executioner. So, and that's one of the gripes that I have with Conservative Inc. Now, it sucks that Breonna Taylor was killed. It, I mean, the narrative that comes out is completely different than the facts of the matter of the case. And I read the entire 90-page report. She was in a bad place at a bad time. Now, with the announcement and everything, should anybody have been shooting? Probably not. But I mean, like you said, if they're coming hot, then especially if they're in plain clothes. That was the weirdest thing for me is the fact that everybody was in plain clothes for all of this. No badges, no nothing. They're going to supposedly serve this incredibly dangerous warrant, and everybody's wearing cheap suits. That doesn't make any sense
If you
to
don't
me.
have, identify yourself as an authority figure,
Hmm.
and since we live with authority figures who, you know, like I said, this whole bunch of gang shit. If you don't affiliate yourself with that gang, no one's gonna know that you're with that gang, and they're just gonna take fire on you, and then be like, oh
Hmm.
well, they hurt our gang, so now we can justify coming back at you because you hurt our gang.
Hmm. But still, and that goes back to where I said judge, jury, and executioner. Yes, Taylor did commit crimes. Her arrest record is out there, and yes, it's shown that. But wouldn't you rather have her tried by 12 of her peers rather than have 3 people be the executioner in that? I don't care for any of that.
Indeed. Yep.
But I also, I
Passion
generally,
doesn't justify.
I generally side with police officers probably a little bit more than you do because they are doing their jobs, and I would rather go after the lawmakers who are making these draconian laws that the police officers are running out and enforcing. Strike the snake at the head. I don't know where you would
Indeed.
stand on that.
Well, where I stand on that is I'm more of the all cops are bastards, if especially if they're enforcing certain rules. Like if you're going around saying, "Oh, I can't stop these riots because it's dangerous to stop a riot, but I can
Mm-hmm.
go stop that kid over there because he's not wearing a mask right now." It's like, why are you enforcing certain things when there's danger right there for the citizens dealing with? You're just letting that slide, but you're gonna go stop Billy Bob over there because he's not wearing a mask, and that one bitch said, "Oh, he's not wearing one, so I'm gonna go, arrest him or tase him or some stupid stuff like that." That's where I'm like, okay, no, it's different because I also do security here at this lot that I work at, and that's my main job here, actually, security. And if there's someone who I don't want here, I just tell them to leave, and if they don't, I push them out of my area. Like this is, I don't care where you are as long as you're out of the area that you're causing trouble in.
Mm-hmm.
There's ways to de-escalate shit without having to go pulling a gun and shooting somebody. Now, will I? Yes, of course, but that's the difference there. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one that's saying I am an authority. I'm saying I'm a person, and this is property that I'm defending.
Mm-hmm.
Where the police are saying the whole United States or their jurisdiction, whatever they're part of, saying this is my jurisdiction, so I have to enforce this, and we have to go through these challenges and these rules when we go to jail and all that crap. So
Do you think it would help, though, in the policing situation if laws were reduced to anything that has a victim behind it? Because I mean, all of this is going over transporting of drugs, which Schedule 1 should be outlawed to begin with. Because if you're sticking a needle in your arm and hurting yourself, now distribution, especially when children are involved, is a slightly different thing. But I mean, if you've got a crack pipe and nobody else around, I don't see the problem. That's natural selection at most point.
right, and the thing with the whole drug war and all that is that they say, oh well, we have to stop the drugs because people are doing this with the drugs. They're going and stealing people's things. Like, well, they're doing that because you made it illegal to obtain. So
Mm-hmm.
they're going to do illegal shit to get it. And also, it's highly addictive. So they're also going to be doing that. And you're not treating them when you send them into rehab. You're culture you're shocking their system out most of the time, and then you're treating them like a child again, and then releasing them into the same environment that they were out of,
Mm-hmm.
and they go right back to it again. So there's no, and also that's the justice system as well. The justice system does the same stupid shit. And what I really dislike about it is that it's legally written in there that prison and jail is constitutional because it's slavery due to punishment. That's what the rules are there. So I have huge issues with that in general as well. I find that torture and imprisonment are the same ultimately.
I want to move off of this one here and just go into some of what happened in the aftermath of all of this. I think, as most of us expected, no matter what, no matter what the verdict wound up being, there was going to be violence in the streets of Louisville. We all saw that one coming. We definitely saw that one coming out of theirs, and there were maybe some little indicators that showed that yes, they were planning to already be violent. There is the conversation of Zoller, the woman that rented the U-Haul van and was passing out shields and bricks and all kinds of other fun supplies that they use in these riots here. But for the most part, this appears that this was planned. The Louisville municipality officially naming a state of emergency 2 days before the verdict was handed down. So, what did you see on the riots this week?
Shit. Dude, the riots are. I knew that they were going to come either
Mm-hmm.
way. It doesn't matter what happens. People, like I said, my big old thing that I try to tell people is that if you want something done or you're going to do something, you're going to justify that for whatever reason you want. You're going to sell it as no, that's the reason why it's going to happen because that's the truth of this situation. And you're going to use whatever evidence that you want to use, and
Mm-hmm.
it could be real, fake, it doesn't matter. Whatever justification is going to happen, that's going to happen. So they were just waiting for a reason for it to do it in the first place. They were already going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, of course it's going to happen, no matter what it was. Especially the courts knew too. Like, oh, we especially know this because right now in this environment too, you have a whole bunch of things that seemed a lot planned to me. Like, I'm not going to say like super conspiratorial, but a lot of them seem like, well, you should have. But if you were actually trained, it would have. But okay, whatever, that kind of thing. So a lot of it's really weird because especially with this case, it was like they were like, okay, we gotta prepare for some stuff to happen because we know that the ruling is gonna be very upsetting. It's like, okay, so why are you ruling that way? If you know the will of the people, why are you ruling in the opposite manner of that? I thought the will of the people was the point of a jury and things like that.
Hmm.
But it's a judge is supposed to be impartial, right? But now they're arguing that with the SCOTUS, but that's another story. We can get to that later. So there's a whole bunch of weird things that people are trying to argue for certain things right now, and it's all kind of meshed together in my mind. It seems like it's all about the same topic, but no one's really grasping what the issue actually is. And to me, it's that the issue is government, and we're all realizing it's falling, but everyone is trying to save it. So, and I'm just like, no, just poke the bear and let it fall. But that's another story.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of this, what we're seeing right now, is the fact that it's an election year too.
Hmm.
There's a lot of electioneering that's going on with a lot of the news that we're seeing this year, especially. They're trying to make it look one way or another, and I mean, both of the candidates on the mainline parties are trying to poke the bear and say, okay, well, it's this side that's doing it and the other side that's doing it.
Hmm.
I look at some of this stuff too, and like the woman that rented the U-Haul van, and I have not been able to corroborate this, but this was put in my Discord server probably about 20 minutes before I started the Zoom call to go live on this. That the woman that rented the U-Haul, who is a member of, or used to be a member rather, of a Soros funded group, has been arrested for inciting riot, essentially. I will probably be talking about that on the morning show a little bit more after I get a chance to corroborate that and put it through a NewsGuard article. But yeah, there is definitely some planning to go along with this and point the fingers one way or the other. What's your take on that one?
Well, like I said, I agree with the planning. There's and like the funds, right? Soros funded, and then you also have all these GoFundmes right now, and the GoFundMe itself is really doing some shady shit. Because like you'll see
Yes.
this like one person be able to get it, and then this other time they're like, oh nope, we can't let that person raise the money, so we're gonna cross it off real quick. They violated our shit,
Hmm.
like, but they really didn't. So why are you allowing this person and not this person? Well, this one's an actual victim, and this is the narrative that we're trying to follow. So like right now, it's like the corporations are backing this whole play, and because of that, you have a lot of planning going on. Like I don't want to say like espionage, but that's pretty much what it is. It's corporate espionage, pretty much. That's what it's like at the end of the day. It's CIA, all that good crap, right? It does exist, and there are I say that like chess players in the game that do all this. And so when you have the funds and you're able to shuffle them like that, you can do a lot of things. You can go out and make shields and hand them out and say, oh no, there's signs. Or you can go and like, oh, here's our flagpole. Hold it right that end, this end, and we can, trip it off if we got poles to fight with or whatever. There's a whole bunch of things you can plan to make riots seem worse or bad. And like the brick thing, that seemed really planned to me too. Remember when that was a thing?
Yeah. Oh,
There's
absolutely.
bricks set up at places. So yeah, dude, like there's some shady shit, and it might be due to the election, but it also could be that people are trying to save the country one way or another, or it could be that hey, blues are already sold out to China, and then now we got to do this, and maybe Trump's the only savior. I don't know. I don't play the stupid status games, but I watch them and I say, oh, maybe this is gonna happen. I deduce from there.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the status games about that too, because I was thinking as you were talking about this, my thought is, I mean, you would think that a person like yourself would be more in line with the ideas that Antifa and them are trying to push right now. All cops are bastard, defund the police, get rid of the police department. But where I think they would differ with somebody like you would be the people that are supporting Antifa, the organizing, the organizers of the riots and everything, want Antifa to be a new police. So they're
Well,
trying to
it's
eliminate one state to become another state.
exactly,
Yeah.
and in order to do that, you can't claim yourself like an anarchist, which is kind of what irritates me about this whole thing too. They're saying, oh no, Antifa's anarchist, and we're labeling Antifa as a terrorist group. Like, well, shit. You know what that does to me?
Hmm.
I'm not even fucking associated with those bastards because they're all fucking racist to me. Fuck 'em.
Yeah.
But I am associated as a terrorist automatically because I consider myself an anarchist,
Yeah.
right? I consider myself pure blood S-class anarchist, right? Where every other ANCAP or ANCOM is, to me, they hyphen anarchy, so they're just trying to be collective and build a state on their own. But that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to get into that right now.
Well, yeah, and I
But
mean,
that's what's going to happen with it.
I do understand where you're coming from on that too. I'm friends with Jessica Green, who just changed
Mm-hmm.
her just changed her Twitter name from to Libertarian Kitchen Witch, but it used to be Anarchy Toward. And I always ask her every time I
Mm-hmm.
talk to her, I'm like, so what do you think about the fact that they just called all these Antifa thugs anarchists?
Mm-hmm.
I forget what the term
Oh,
was
dude.
that she used. I think it was Rothbardian anarchists is what they are not.
Yeah. And my whole thing is like they have a whole bunch. You know how it is.
Hmm.
With like I was saying earlier with the gang shit, you have a whole bunch of factions saying, "No, this is what anarchy has to be. This is what anarchy has to be." And I'm sitting here going, "We'll see how anarchy actually is." But to me, all y'all are still doing all the gang shit. So have fun with that. I'm just chilling. I want to be a pirate over there. I don't need any of what you guys are doing. I'm gonna exploit your guys' rules and sell to get a party though. How's that sound? All right, you know. So that's
What
how I see things.
One of the most interesting things that came out of the particular Breonna Taylor riots that happened this past week was, and this kind of tickled with the military strategy side of me. I was a big StarCraft nut before they did the whole Blitzchung thing over at Blizzard, and I said I can't touch a Blizzard game anymore. But I was a
Mm-hmm.
big time StarCraft nut, and I'm looking at the fact. So a certain church in Louisville decided that they were going to be a law enforcement sanctuary for any of the rioters who needed to get in and out of the streets because they were in danger of being arrested for curfew. Now, this church put out food, they opened their doors, they had people in there, they had medical attention. I mean, this was whole 9 yards, a definite sanctuary. And they advertised that they were going to be a sanctuary for the rioters off of this. But
Mm-hmm.
it turns out that many of the people who were rioting that took shelter in this church, when they did leave the church, were immediately arrested, and tricked something in my mind. I'm like, that's like the piss poorest strategy you could ever have. Go out to a public place as a sanctuary. The police have nothing but time, and when one of them
Mm-hmm.
has to pee, they'll just put somebody else up onto the line there. So all they're gonna do is sit outside and wait for you to come back out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
I was
And
wondering
what's
what
really
your
funny
take was
about
on
it,
that.
well, dude, they're gonna if you're trying to say that like, well, I'm not saying you by the way. This is general you. If you're trying to say that people need to, have sanctuary, which also let me make this clear, I'm cool with them doing the riots, but I'm not cool with it being attacking the people,
Yeah.
the businesses, shit like, no, dude, go bomb down your courthouse, go take down your Capitol building. Those are the places you want to take out,
Hmm.
not the people's buildings, because that's not what you're not against the people right now. You're against the government, right? Okay, so show the government you're upset at them, not the
Hmm.
people, because you're just wrecking your people. It's like, oh no, I'm upset with the citizens. Why are you upset with the citizens? I thought the government and the police was your issue. So if they are your issue, go and take that. And so when the state says we're going to offer you a sanctuary over here, and then you go in here, or no, it was the church, right? The
Yeah, it
church
was a
said we're going to offer
church.
sanctuary. Okay, yeah. So the church says we're going to offer you sanctuary, and then the next thing they're doing, because they don't want the people being attacked either, because they're a church and Marxism is very anti uh, religion. And so they're like, oh yeah, no, we don't want these people here, so we're going to turn them into the state. Hey guys, we got a whole bunch of people relaxing here, come and chill. They're going to come out and you can take them. So that's how that's going to work out for sure. Because the church is going to be like, oh yeah, we're good people. Which I'm not going to say that anyone's not a good person or not, but that's what their claim is, so they can help out these people real quick and then help out their community as well by getting the rioters and people damaging these buildings taken to jail. So,
That
and then
is
in their mind, that is justice.
that is an interesting take because I hadn't thought about possibly the church coming out and saying, "Oh yeah, no, we've got these people in here coming around them." That hadn't crossed my mind, but just the fact that they're coming out and knowingly publicly gathering in a very public place,
Oh yeah, dude.
just
The
strategically,
more
that
you
sounds bad to me.
Well, the more that you feel that you are in the higher ground, the more able you're going to go out into the open and just be like, no, I'm totally fine. I am the higher ground right now. I have everything on my side. Don't worry about me. The law is going to be the law and it's going to try to do this, but I'm the resistance. I have the moral authority here. And so that's the claim. And that's why if you see that's a lot of mistakes people make anyway in the first place, is saying, I have the best idea, so I'm impervious to this and I'm going to go in here and do this. No idea is impervious, dog. Every idea sucks ass, even mine.
Yeah.
So, like, try to be smarter about what you do. But also, if you're trying to prove a point, like they are, they're saying, "Hey, no, we got this. We are in the right." Because once these guys come in and remove us, that also proves our point because I wasn't doing anything, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's what I saw. I mean, the mainstream news really did try to downplay this whole Louisville situation as quickly as they could, which, I mean, it's tanking Biden in the polls right now. Anytime they have a riot, I mean, he takes a hit coming out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
Lemon came out and admitted that. You knew that was going to be coming off of this, but they tried to downplay this. But we had another part of the country. This one is coming up from my neck of the woods. Jacob Blake's officer's lawyer has come out and made a statement about more of what the situation was when Rustin Chesky fired 7 bullets into Jacob Blake's back. I want to read, where do I have this one here? I know I brought it up here. There it is. From ABC News. The Kenosha police officer who shot Jacob Blake in the back 7 times last month told investigators he thought Blake was trying to abduct one of his own children and that he opened fire because Blake started turning toward the officer while holding a knife, the officer's lawyer contends. So we know what the narrative is of. The narrative has changed a few times, but of course, the beginning of this story was that Jacob Blake was over trying to break up the fight between 2 women that caused the domestic dispute. It later became clear that Jacob Blake was actually the subject of the officer's call for the domestic dispute because he was there when he wasn't supposed to be. He had stolen the keys and he was threatening to take the car. Now it turns out, and several witnesses have corroborated this at this point, that as Jacob Blake was leaving, the woman whose house he was at, his ex-girlfriend, was out on the lawn screaming, "He's got my kids, he's going to take my kids." We also remember the fact that there were kids in the back of the SUV. It was never confirmed whose children they were. So I don't know if you saw this story or not. This one didn't catch a lot of attention either this week, but since I used to live in Kenosha, that kind of mattered to me a bit. But what have you seen on this?
I haven't seen that personally myself, but what I do know is that this whole battle over his case is about the evidence. I think I kind of alluded to that earlier on accident.
Yes.
Trying to go ahead a bit. But the whole battle over this case is based on the evidence, right? You're like, okay, if he had a knife in the first place, they were saying, oh, he had a knife. In the beginning, the cops got rid of it. They tased him. He was on the ground, whatever the fuck. And then they're saying, oh, he got up and got around to the other car. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, both cops followed him. So like, there's the evidence around it all. To me, from my perspective, knowing how to stop people and being usually that person who has to go into those situations where others can't handle it and stopping the confrontation because I'm really good at it. I know that if I have someone with me to help me stop this person and we know that he's being resistant, I'm not going to let him, not at all going to let him get to his van in the first place. At the end of the day, it's not going to happen. If he says, oh, I'm going to, even if he was saying, oh, I'm going to go get my gun, which is why they drew on him, things like that, it doesn't matter. You do not let him get to that point. If he says he's going to pull something on you once he gets there, that's saying, hey, maybe don't let him, especially in this, like I was saying, this environment we're currently in, this culture that we're now currently experiencing, this uproar of, dude, cops are now being violent on people because it started with George Floyd and then all of a sudden Blake happened. And it's like, they didn't stop him. They could have stopped him and avoided shooting him in the back 7 times. Even if he was going to reach for papers or whatever he was doing, they could have stopped him non-lethally before he even got there. Well, and that's my whole point, and I do know that.
Well, one of the situations in this particular case was the fact that he had been tased and had wrestled with a police officer on the ground already. So they had already tried to end this nonviolent. Now, to me, this actually changes things a little bit because children are involved. Children are who we're supposed to be protecting.
That's especially why you don't let them get to the van.
Yeah. So
that's especially why you don't let them open up the door.
Once we weren't there, there's no body cameras in Kenosha. So
yeah, exactly. Ooh, I'll bring that up later. Continue. Sorry.
No, go ahead on that one because we're at this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this kind of hit my conspiracy brain a little bit when it happened because I was like, no, you know what, guys, let's wait for the body cams. Let's wait for the body cams. I was trying to say that, so I can gain more evidence myself of what actually happened, who said what he was trying to do. Even if they did tase him and get him on the ground first. Like I said, though, there's still ways to stop someone before they even get to the van. But that's just me from seeing the evidence that I saw.
And the body
There's ways to stop him. You send the other guy around, you don't follow in the same direction. But that's because you flanking is the thing.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, we're going to go back to strategy on that one. But
yeah.
The body cam thing has been a point of contention in this entire thing because just
2 weeks before this, 2 months before it, they got rid of them. It was too pricey. That was my thing. And then all of a
no, they
sudden this
didn't.
happens, and it's like,
No, they
oh,
didn't.
they don't have it. That's what I read, that they got rid of the body cams. Like
No, they
a
never
couple weeks
had body
before it
cams in
happened.
Kenosha. I lived in Kenosha for 10 years. They've never had body
Oh
cams in
shit.
Kenosha. They were approved this year for the budget, which they were going to be put into use into 2021. But they've never had body cams in Kenosha. County does, but city doesn't. Because county
Oh,
got
that's probably what I read then. County.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, city has never had body
And
cams.
but county got rid of theirs right before it happened because they ran out of budget for it. Is what I guess I read, probably.
Yeah, city of Kenosha's never had body cams ever.
Okay.
And the 10 years that I've lived there, they have never had body cams. But yes, they got approved in this year's budget to begin use in 2021.
And body cams are a good thing too, but
Yeah.
also, as evidence is also up to the discretion, right? You got to argue what the evidence actually means, how it goes here, what could have happened, what would happen, what did happen. And what did happen is usually what people say. Well, this is what happened. He was tased, got up, he went around the car, he opened the door, he was reaching for something, cop shot him.
Mhm.
That's what did happen. It's like, okay, cool. Well, in all honesty, they could have stopped him, flank him around, don't even, cool, he's up there, both of you, just grab him. Choke slam him. It doesn't matter. Choke him. It doesn't matter. Stop him from getting to the car, especially if you know there's children in that car. You don't want to shoot someone in front of children or that close proximity. Saying if he did grab a gun and was trying to shoot at you, if you shot him, like I've seen bodies twitch before and shoot other things. So you don't know if he could have shot the kids or not on accident. Shit happens.
Well, yeah,
And if you know going towards a car with kids in it, and you're supposed to be the authority and stop things from escalating, regardless if you already tried once, you have another cop, you have other means to do so. You have batons, you have another taser, you can shoot him in the legs even to stop him from going somewhere. And these cops do have good aim, so don't tell me like, oh, they're trained to aim at the chest to end someone because it takes a lot of bullets to stop a crazed person on drugs. Yes, you're right, it does take a lot of bullets to stop a crazed person on drugs. But you know what also stops a crazed person on drugs? If they can't move, if they can't walk, if they can't use their legs, they're not going to be able to get to you. They're going to try, they're going to crawl, they're still going to continue, but there's ways to stop someone. And once they're easier to control, you can take a handle of it, which is also what I'm saying earlier too, was that when people call for this police reform, what they're really going to get is highly militarized and highly trained officers, and that's not going to be what they actually desire out of this outcome, but that's what's going to happen. Because that's going to be the great compromise. It's like, well, we have this, so we're going to do this now for you guys.
And yet we still should probably get a point where we have less laws and then we have less need for enforcement. That is something I'm going to harp on until it happens. Fewer laws, especially at a federal level. End the drug war.
And my argument too is for anarchy. People are like, oh, how are you going to have these rules and how are you going to do all this? It's like, well, currently cancel culture proves that people can check each other themselves just fine. Granted, usually it ends up with a call to authority or whatever it is. But if we realize that we are our own authorities the whole time, we'll be able to cancel a business or a person easily ourselves if we deem it unfit. If we deem it unfit for what we're trying to do as a society or whatever. Now, the point where it comes statism is when you try to say that, no, we have to control that market, we have to, in order to make sure that our society functions. Well, once you say that it's a moral authority that has to happen, then you're creating a state that says, no, this is the way it has to happen because we said it does. Instead of saying, oh, yeah, these people disagree with that person, they're going to do their own thing about it. It's a totally different kind of thing. And so I just personally don't like the militarization of police, because then it becomes Big Brother 10 times, and you're now looking at a barrel of a gun for any infraction.
Very true. I'm treading in with with talking to somebody on the anarchy side here, a little bit of a dangerous space right now, because I've seen some mixed opinions on the Rittenhouse case here, but I want to touch on this one here. Tucker Carlson airs never-before-seen footage from Kyle Rittenhouse shooting in Kenosha. Now, the footage, and we watched this over on Contemporary, which that particular video is now age-restricted as well. Thank you very much, Wojcicki. But we did watch a little bit of this footage here. So Tucker Carlson released footage that the New York Times released 2 weeks ago, showing another angle of Rittenhouse where he was up trying to put out a fire. The footage shows him running up to a dumpster fire that was being pushed towards a gas station with a fire extinguisher to put out the fire. at which point he is surrounded. Somebody behind him fires off a shot while he is surrounded in the pincer maneuver that you pointed out. Rittenhouse turns out, fires once, shoots victim one in the head, and then, yes, the next thing that we see is the video that we've seen entirely. Rittenhouse running away from several assailants, one hitting him on the head, where he turns up and shoots, and then he turns around and shoots Gage Grosskreutz in the arm as he was holding a pistol. So I don't know if you saw this video or not that Tucker put out, or the one that the New York Times put out. It's the same video. I don't know why they said it was never before in see footage, but it's the exact same video the New York Times put out 2 weeks ago. But what was your take on this?
Oh, well, like I was trying to say earlier about it, kind of, if you're having an issue with the government, take it out on the government, not on the people. And so what you have is some people saying, no, I'm protecting the communities myself. You know, Kyle Rittenhouse, maybe he was a different state. I don't care where he's from. Even if he worked there, I don't care. It's still his community. If he goes there often, it's his community. You know, whatever. If he decides that he's from there, sure. Who am I telling he's not? And why am I going to try to stop him from defending some building that he deems needing protecting? You know, cool. Do your thing, dog. Now, these guys who are rioting, no matter what it is at the end of the day, it comes down to them trying to exert authority over him, and him trying to say, this is all I'm trying to do is do this. I'm trying to help you guys out too. You know, he was also trying to possibly say, I don't know, go do your own thing. If you have a problem, do it over there. But I also do know that he was a, you know, cadet guy. So he liked the police. So he might have been saying like, oh no, I got to step in, you know, be the police because I want to be a police, you know. That could have been a thing. And so I gotta look at that through that lens, and I'm like, you know, I'm not judging the kid too harshly. Good dude, solid shooter. Like, not gonna lie, that was some skill. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, people were gonna get shot either way, weren't they?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, because Grosskreutz had his gun out too.
Kyle. Yeah, someone was gonna get shot. Kyle could have got shot. It doesn't matter. Who happened to win was Kyle. He was better at the trigger. So that's all I really look at. Because to me, I don't really care much for legality in the first place. It's like, okay, well, what led up to it is crazy, but riots themselves are crazy. So if you're trying to pick out certain incidences from a night of insanity, you're just trying to nitpick what happened and justify certain rulings to go in a certain way versus another way, even though the whole night was chaotic. But this is what really was important. But no, the whole story that's important was that the riots happened in the first place, and dude decided that he had to protect his building.
Well, and that's one of the things too, and that's, I mean, the right in this country is pretty well united behind Kyle Rittenhouse. The left is pretty well united in the fact that they want him put in a cell forever because they don't believe in the death penalty, otherwise that they would administer the death penalty themselves. Libertarian Twitter seems almost split down the middle. Yes, they are... half of them are in favor of the fact that he's out there defending property and forming the militia because they don't want the police to do it, and the other half wants the poor kid crucified because he wanted to be a cop when he grew up.
Well, like you heard me mention that too, right?
Yep.
So you know how I see it. I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. He's a kid. He's gonna suck a boot, or he's not gonna suck a boot. I really don't care. At the end of the day, his trigger game is tight.
Yeah.
But if and he could have been trying to exert authority. I don't care. He wasn't exerting it on me. Now, if he wants to be that state man and go and exert authority for the state and for him because he feels like he needs to be, then yeah, fuck the guy. But at the current moment, no, he just a wannabe at the current moment who has really good trigger game.
Yeah.
So fuck it. I'm not championing him. I'm not, saying that he's an evil person. And what really kind of gets me about the whole left saying he needs to be locked up is that they have this meme going around on Facebook where it's like, that black cover where it's a whole bunch of black dudes and a small white chick. They have him put in her place, right? So like what they're saying, and so
I haven't seen that one.
They're saying Kyle's gonna, get that his innards are gonna be expanded like an umbrella, right? Ugh. So what they're saying there, unironically, is all those black people are in prison and they're going to do some nasty butt stuff to him, and unironically saying they're agreeing with the fact that the state is putting that many black people behind bars. It's like, well, you're laughing because that many black people are behind bars and they're going to take it out on him, but you don't want to change that. You want him to go into behind bars because of that. I just thought it was funny, and I tried to argue that to some people, and they just get all like, well, you're looking too deep into a meme. I'm like, no, you're being a retard. Look at what you're saying.
Well, the worst part of that too is going back to things that the left is unified behind as well. Not only is it that, yes, we have that many black people in prison, but that kind of shoots a hole in the narrative that they try to put out that, oh, we don't think that black people are violent rapists at all, and it's only right wing people that think that they're violent rapists.
Mm-hmm. Dude, it's great, man. Because
It
they'll
is.
use it and they're like, oh, it's a good. Dude, honestly, I found that meme hilarious. I did. I was like, oh, that's a funny meme. That is great shit. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, these motherfuckers don't even know what they're saying. Like, I don't even agree with the prison system in the first place. So I'm like, why would you guys want to send them to prison? You guys are a supporting system. Why you say you hate it? You know who has to send them to prison? Cops.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want here? But like, yeah, you can't support, jail and then not support the police because they are together. That's what makes them them.
Well, jail for people we
if
don't
they
like.
weren't police, they would just be security saying, no, get out of here. Security, I've never had to lock someone up unless, told by authority to have the cops come and take them because I had to, required by law. Otherwise, I'd lose my job, a whole bunch of none of that crap, But you don't have to lock people up. That's what they do. That's how it happens. So they're championing this. I'm just laughing at them, man.
Speaking of police being defunded, Seattle City Council has voted to override Mayor Jenny Durkin's 3 vetoes of bills to divert funds from the police department into social programs. So, the City Council proposed a legislation to defund the police almost entirely. It is a pretty substantive cut that they have at this point. Durkin vetoed it because she realized after they marched on her home that she actually does need police. And now the city council has voted 7-2 on Tuesday to give the finger to Durkin and say, no, we're going to defund the police, whether you like it or not. So I don't know if you caught this one or not. What'd you see on this?
So they said that we are going to defund the police, whether you want us to or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when it comes to defunding the police, what are you doing? Are you defunding their ability to do their job? Are you taking away their paychecks? What are you doing? Are you taking away their toys they got from the military? That's the big question here, right? And most people think that, it means the police aren't going to be there. No, they're still going to be there, just not going to have their toys, I guess, is what it, at the end of the day, it comes down to. Or how do they describe their defunding?
Looks like the proposal cuts about $3.4 million from the department's $400 million budget. Seattle has about 1,400 police officers, and the bill would cause 100 police positions to be cut by attrition. And yes, they're probably going to have the lower budget for equipment, training, etc. for the 1,300 that remain.
Gotcha. So, all right, here goes. This is going to be a doozy on the brain muscle. Okay, so they're saying we got to defund the police, but they're still going to exist, but we didn't totally defund them. We just took away their money. It's like, we're being mommy and taking away half your allowance because you didn't do your job right. Hopefully you do your job right next time. Oh, and because you can't do your job right, we're also going to, you're not going to be able to use the tools you need, so you're also going to probably do your job worse now because defunding the police is tight, right? That's what it seems like they're saying right now.
Yeah.
If you want to defund the police, you got to take away the whole chunk of change and abolish the department itself, which also would, yes, include jails and prisons. Again, like I said, get rid of them too, because you need both of them. You can't have one without the other. Otherwise, you don't have a system. You just have people in cages.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, it's like literally, it already is literally slavery. But at that point, it's beyond that. It's the state is just holding them without any authority to say why, which makes it 10 times worse.
Oh, absolutely. But another story that I didn't put on the stack, but I wanted to point out while I was talking about this, they have cut $3.4 million from the budget, but they're paying $150,000 per year to an ex-street pimp to advise them on ways that they can do non-policing in the city, which I thought was just about the most ridiculous headline of 2020.
Oh, damn, dude. That's like the most fucking... Oh, that kind of makes me chuckle a little bit on the inside, because I'm like, they went and asked a boy off the street, like, yo, dog, can you help us take care of this real quick? I mean, how do you control your bitches? Because we need to do the same shit. So, that's the way I see it. I'm just sitting here like, oh my god, that's great, man. Holy shit. Like, let's ask this pimp. Maybe he can teach us how to backhand a motherfucker.
And I do think that that's a lot of what that is they're just teaching them how to backhand.
Department costs went up in baby powder by 1,000%.
Yeah, and I read the actual article for this on Contemporary, and this guy has done, I think, 2 tours in prison for illegal prostitution and abuse in Nevada, which I didn't realize there was illegal prostitution in Nevada, unless he did it outside the regulations. But yeah, he's already got a rap sheet in Nevada, and now he's in Seattle, telling them how to run their police department, essentially.
Yeah.
For 6 figures.
Oh man. Oh wow.
$150,000.
I mean, private consulting is where it's at. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. If you consult the federal government and how to catch somebody and how to control their people, obviously you know what you're doing. Obviously you know what you're talking about. Which I think is kind of funny that they're dropping money into a pimp who literally his being is to undercut what the authority stands for. It's like, oh, we don't like prostitution. Well, yeah, well I'm selling bitches anyway.
Well,
So-
and one of the in Nevada was for underage prostitution, which does have me
underage
wondering.
prostitution. Holy shit.
Does have me wondering if he has provided some certain ladies of the night to certain members of the city council, and now they don't want that news to get out.
Oh, so they don't want the wood chipper. Is that what they're saying?
I'm thinking that that might be. I mean, of course, no mainstream news article has said that,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking that might play a role in some of this, especially given the
Definitely,
fact
I
that
can
he
see
has a
that.
history of
Okay.
doing that.
Underage shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. Like that's okay. So I only have a few lines. The one line really mainly that I have is rape, which includes pedophilia,
Mhm.
like inherently. So I'm not a fan of that shit at all. So unless there's people who can choose when they can do certain things. Like, but that's case by case basis. I'm not talking about that shit. Like, there's a legit difference, and of course there is going to be. And so if he's trying to swindle some nasty shit, I'm not down for it. So I could definitely see them trying to dodge the wood chipper on that.
Mm-hmm. All right, I got one last one here before we hit to a chat break. We're already an hour into the show. That was a really heavy topic, but a lot of the next segment is going to be stuff that we can talk about more prospectively without taking articles off of this. Project Veritas has put out another video, which they're pretty good at dropping those here just about election time. Now, for you, because you'll be listening to this, and for anybody listening back on the audio platform, I will try and catch the subtitles as they come along. But a lot of the language that's in this is in Arabic of some sort, so maybe a little bit difficult for those catching up on the audio platform to check out. But let's have a listen and a look at this new James O'Keefe video that came out. Let me get this queued up and going.
James O'Keefe here in downtown Minneapolis at the scene of the crime. The person you're about to meet, Liban Mohammed, aka King Liban 1, boasts about the hundreds of absentee ballots in his car.
Numbers don't lie. Wajidaan gaarigaygu waa buuxaa. Waxaas
You
waa
can see
absent
my car
ballots
is full.
halkaa
All
yaala.
these are
Soo
absentee
jeed.
ballots, can't you see?
Fiiri,
Look
waxaas
at all
oo dhan,
these.
soo
My
jeed.
car is
Waa
full.
buuxaa gaarigayga.
My car
Waa
is full.
buuxa yaala. Waxaas kulli waa Jamaal Cusmaan.
All these
Fiiri.
ballots are for Jamal
Fiiri.
Osman. Look,
300 kaliya maanta soo dhacday.
just
Waa
today we
Jamaal
got
Cusmaan.
300 ballots for Jamal
Yeah.
Osman.
There was video. You can see the video. There was a video out and about that he has the ballots in his car.
Right.
And talking about the only way you can win is with money. I was looking at them and they were not filled. They were blank.
Who is the one filling out the absentee ballots?
So they're gonna
People
look-
who work with, like Ilhan Omar. Where do they pay the money?
The minute we sign the thing, the election, that's what you get paid.
Money is everything. Money is the key in this world. If you ain't got money, you should not be here, period.
So they request the ballots. Yes, they request the ballots, and the ballot is taken away from them. Yes, it is taken away
End
from
of the
them.
street,
Yes.
there's 3 towers called Horn Towers.
Okay.
And it's all seniors, and they took every ballot.
Every ballot. They just take
Every
them from
single
them.
ballot. They knock on the door and say, your ballots, come give it to me, give it to me.
They don't even pay them for it. They just take it.
No. And the ones that didn't vote on ballots, the young people and the women and stuff, they were paying cash. They were getting bags of money the last 1 week here to drive people. So there's a vested interest, but we are victims of the system. They don't give a shit about any Somali.
2 in the morning, still hustling.
Who is the one filling out the absentee ballots?
People who work with like Ilhan Omar and other candidates.
All right, so I watched this video this morning, and we just have some repeats off of this here. But this is the new Veritas video, and yes, it does look like we are seeing some shady shit coming up in Minnesota. So, what did you see on this?
Well, sounds like someone's trying to play some games with the voting things, right? And people are trying to conflate absentee ballots with mail-in, and they're not really the same. One, you have to request it and it's in your name. I don't know if that's the same case here, but either way, if they're taking ballots in other people's names and using them to sign or vote for someone else and turn them in, or whatever they're doing, or even if they're saying, nope, we're just going to take them and shred them, that is definitely tampering with whatever system there is that they're trying to use as a government voting base. So,
Well, yeah, and I mean, this comes out right after the tax thing, which immediately, as soon as it came out, we start hearing about what's the name of the company? It was trending on Twitter earlier, and I cannot think of the name of the company right now. The other one that was really, really big in the election. God, why can't I think of this one? The name escapes me. It'll come back to me at this point, but let me see if it's still up on Twitter. No, it's not. I was going to see. But the other analytics firm, Cambridge Analytica, that was it. That, as soon as the Veritas video came out, Cambridge Analytica was suddenly printing, and suddenly, all of a sudden, mysteriously, that they had a drop on Donald Trump trying to suppress the votes with black people, and some sort of expose on that one. So this whole election is just needs to be thrown in the trash at this point, because nobody's going to know what the fuck went on. Even on Inauguration Day, I don't think anybody's going to know what the fuck happened.
oh no, dude. And okay, what's really insane is that both sides are saying, oh no, I'm not going to admit defeat or at all. Both sides are going to be like, no, I'm going to be the winner. I know this. And so if he doesn't accept defeat, I'm not moving.
Mm-hmm.
Or if he doesn't accept defeat, we're going to have him removed. It's like, well, no. Oh, but we have to wait until maybe January, February to get the election results anyway. So when it happens, the House Speaker is going to become president, and then she's going to do some stuff that she has to do. Like, what? No, just stop it. Like, also, this is why I'm also not, in favor of any of this.
You're right.
Government stuff. Yeah, that's why I'm an anarchist. But I know the game to be played, and how you guys are, or how they're not you guys, how they're trying to play it is saying, oh no, we got the votes, we're going to win. It's our way, and look at this, look how this leader's doing this leader's doing that. Well, guys, if we stop saying we need leaders, we're going to be a lot better off.
Well, and
now we can have people as inspirers to how we should be, but not necessarily a leader of saying this is how things have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And most of these people are supposed to be representatives anyway, but they aren't representatives as they're not representing the people. They're representing an idea of a law that needs to be put in place because of X reason or justification, whatever they decide to do. And at the end of the day, they're going to justify whatever they want to justify.
Well, and that's been one of the biggest problems that I've had with the government in general at this point, and the people who vote for the government, is the fact that at some point our representatives, our president, our state reps, our assemblymen, our governors, etc., they stopped being employees of the people, servants of the people, servants of the public, and started becoming leaders. And I think that's a big part of when all of this started becoming a problem, is when people started looking to them for leadership. We were never supposed to look to government officials for leadership, ever.
No, it was supposed to be consent of the governed.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't consent to someone saying I have to live by a certain way. That's not the way I am. I don't take shit from no one, and especially a big daddy. Even if he has a gun, cool, that's fancy. You're going to use it, or you're just going to throw me in a cage. What's up, So that's my whole thing with it, is like, I didn't consent to it, and I don't have to follow your rules just because you say I do, because you're the one with the badge, or you're the one with the wig on, or whatever, So, yeah, dude, the authority issue is a really big one. It went from, a kind of the libertarian ideal government to one of strict authority. Mm-hmm. And that's what I see kind of very issue-ish with it. And that's why I'm also like, well, they built a really decent libertarian government, from what we consider libertarian these days anyway. They were considered classical liberal back then. They created a decent government that way of what, seems pretty legit. But then people started having issues with the way it was wording and things like that. It went really quickly, actually, from that libertarian-like government to a government of pure authority saying, oh, we need this because of this reason. So we have to take some money from you, even though that was never supposed to be a thing. It was the armies were supposed to be a voluntary nature. There was no standing army because people were the standing army. When they decided to stand up, they were going to be that. So, and that's where the issue therein lies. And the president was only supposed to be elected in time of war, because then he was the one to lead those standing armies to there. They're going to choose the best one, commander in chief. Hey, you buddy, lead us. Cool, thanks. Now we're going to go in here. Because yes, militaries do need a leader to say, hey, we should go over here. But also, it's more of a tactical thing. You don't want to say the leader always says what happens. That's not the case. If it's a good person who knows their strategy, they're going to take another person's idea on, hey, what do you think they could do? Because you don't know everything that other person's going to do. He's also going to have advisors saying what they should do. So you got to take it all into perspective of this is authority, and they're trying to rule over us, and they're not trying to allow the people to be people. They're trying to make them what they want to be under justification of, well, if we weren't here, then these poor people would, they'd be dead by now. Or these rich people wouldn't be paying their taxes. Or whatever reason you're going to give to justify a state as being authority, as they are.
All right, with that, we're going to check in with the live chat here, see what they've got going on here, make sure they're not killing each other. Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru says, it's still a different guest every other week. Yes, election season is playing hard on my current co-host right now, so we've got a guest in, and came in, well, you actually had some advance notice. Kevin Castor came in like last minute 2 weeks ago, but
wow.
You came in and helped us out, so we are always thankful for that. Unsatiable 1776 says, this is why you get a shotgun. Anyone breaking in, police or not, get the shells. Thank you, Unsatiable. Defensively, of course, Susan Wojcicki, defensively.
Defensively, right.
Nephilim Ninja says, the cops did fire blindly in response. I feel that you should identify targets regardless of being fired upon. Visibility. Yes, that is, I went through hunter safety. That's the first thing you learn. Know your target and what's beyond it.
If you can't see your target, you're not going to be able to hit the damn thing.
Unsatiable says, yeah, the person died, but she didn't return a book back to the library in middle school. Talking about Candace Owens bringing out the criminal record of somebody.
Yep.
Nephilim Ninja says, time for a new name. Anarchy already has a meaning in the public's mind.
Oh, dude, trust me. I've been in that. It irritates the piss out of me. I agree with you, bro.
Nephilim also says the Unitarians aren't known for war strategy. Then he also picked on me. He says, what I got from all this is J. Edgar's taxes are too low. Raise that shit for the body cams. Well, I don't live in City of Kenosha anymore, so that wouldn't affect me anyway.
My taxes. All right, yeah. Sorry.
And Harvey McLeod checked in at the end of this and says, hi, kids. And that's where we're going to leave live chat off here for right now. We will be back after the next round of topics. So you were going to add something to Nephilims, though it sounded like, and I interrupted you.
All right.
All right. Let's talk about the other big news for the week here. So we've been hearing it for a week. We kind of already knew who it was going to be. Elaine and I texted it back and forth the day that we found out that Ginsburg died, that, hey, somebody's probably already on the phone with a certain Supreme Court Justice nominee. And this past Saturday, it is confirmed Amy Coney Barrett is going to be nominated to go through the Senate process to become the next Supreme Court Justice. Now, Amy Coney Barrett, for what we know about her so far, is a Seventh Circuit judge who was also appointed by Trump for the circuit involving Chicago, parts of Wisconsin, Indiana, for the most part. She lives in South Bend, Indiana. She commutes to Chicago for whatever ungodly reason. That's a note for me. But she commutes to Chicago every day. She has 7 kids, 5 biologically, 2 Haitian adoptees, and she swore when the announcement was made on Saturday that she is going to uphold the Constitution and not make decisions based on personal or political interests. What do you know about Amy Coney Barrett, and what would you like to say about her?
I don't know much about her. All I do know is that the system is designed to... Well, okay, what I do know is that she's a judge, law school, all that good stuff. And what I do know from all of that is it doesn't matter what your personal beliefs are or not, the way you rule, people are always going to have their biases for people. That's why we need so many justices on it. Or that's why people like more. It's like, oh, there's more of an idea of actually what can be ruled on. There's different voices, like I was saying earlier, advisors type shit. So when it comes down to rulings, all it is saying this is the way it was done. And they were talking about how she is an originalist, I guess, when it comes to reading the Constitution. She wants to interpret it how they actually meant it back in the day versus living document, or how we interpret it now. And so having that difference of this is the document interpreted as a living, and then this is the document interpreting as back then, you're always going to have this clash of, well, this is the bias that this person is going through. So that's her bias, is it's originalist. This is what they meant by this. This is what they said, so this is what they meant. Versus now it's, well, this is what it says, and this is what it means today. So this is what we have to interpret it as, because if we don't have a living document, then we can't progress as a country and still have our founding, is the argument. And then if we don't keep it originalist, we won't have a solid base to build our house upon. And that's, the difference in opinions there. And when it goes through the courts, it's just saying, oh, well, this, and they always use reasonable, right? And so that their right tells you immediately that it's always going to be subjective. Like any reasonable person, or what's a reasonable person? A reasonable person would do this. Well, I consider myself reasonable, but I wouldn't necessarily do that. So when does this term come into effect? Well, it's like, well, they make a whole bunch of justifications for this happening and all that good shit. So I'm not really too much of a fan with anyone saying that this is going to change the way courts are going to rule things, because in reality, it's going to be, no, this is what's going to happen, just more of the same. And let's say that she dies, or she gets replaced, or she gets off of the SCOTUS, someone else replaces her, they overturn what she wrote. It doesn't matter. They're always going to have this back and forth, like, oh, no, I didn't agree with her ruling because it wasn't very objective. This is the objective because living document argument, or whatever argument they present.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we're even seeing some of that. We're seeing a lot of people that are freaking out over the fact that that she's going to overturn Roe, that she's going to be, and we saw a lot of the slander coming up through the week. I know that one of the articles, and Tim was talking about this, Tim Pool talked about this a lot, was the fact that apparently somebody made the claim that the religious group that she belongs to, not the church, but an extracurricular group that she belongs to, was the inspiration for The Handmaid's Tale, which, first off, I'm sorry, leftists in the world, read another fucking book. You've only read The Handmaid's Tale and Harry Potter. Read another book.
Dude, one kind of irks me is that, like, off topic right now, a little bit, sideways, only for a second, is I love Harry Potter books, and the left tries to use Harry Potter logic in their way, and I'm like, guys, no, if you actually read the book, it's not what they're saying at all. And J.K. Rowling will even say, oh, it totally is what I'm saying. I'm like, did you even read your own book? Like, what? So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of weird shit with that. And, yeah, I agree with you, man. They need to pick their new fiction. But that's the thing. They're basing life off of fiction. It's like, come on, guys.
Well, and, I mean, some of the other stuff that we're seeing from this, I mean, the Roe thing is massive. Because first off, I believe that was an unlawfully decided decision from the beginning. But of course, because of the propaganda that's been spread around, we talked about this last week. I've talked about this on Contemporary Hell. I've been talking about this since Kavanaugh. The logic that they've been taught is the fact that as soon as a justice comes up and eliminates Roe versus Wade, it's going to become legal for men to rape women, put their seed in them, and they're not going to be able to have a job anymore. Because that's what they've been taught.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, that'd be the most crazy ruling ever. It's already against the books to rape somebody. So it's like, oh no, if they overturn that, it's going to be legal rape. How? Explain. Rape itself is illegal. That's the definition we gave it. It's forceful act of sexual conduct, right? So how are you going to... Okay, if someone makes it legal, I'm still going to go probably kill a person I see doing it personally myself. Right. Just saying. That's a hypothetical, of course. Waive legal fees.
Defensively.
So, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, if you say that something's legal and you're going to do it anyway, it's kind of messed up, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking? And so their whole argument about Roe v. Wade getting overturned is really kind of silly, because all it would really do is leave it up to the states to decide, which is more on par with what I kind of think about the whole situation anyway. Yeah. However, I'm more of a fan of the market deciding. And if it's not really a good thing for the market or whatever, then okay, innovate, replace it with something. And if you can't, then I guess the service is going to have to be there. Otherwise, you're going to exert authority over it and control the market, which to me is not a good thing. All that good shit. But that's a whole other argument. Where Roe v. Wade getting overturned would be, yep, states control it. They can decide to. And if you don't like that state's ruling, you move to another one. It's a free country. You can go to a different state.
Did you see the HuffPo article that came out last week? Some opinion writer wrote into the HuffPo and said, well, I'm joining the Church of Satan because Ruth Bader Ginsburg died and Roe versus Wade is going to end. Legitimately. I read that on the air. I laughed so hard off of that. And, I mean, the Church of Satan is coming out and saying, well, don't lump us in with religion. We don't believe in Satan. Because that was one of the things that...
One second.
Go ahead. We're moving. I heard the dog.
One second, I got to mute my dog real quick and let someone into the shop I watch. Apologies for the random instance.
All right, I'm going to go play with the live chat while you're doing that here because it looks like we've got some going on with this. Let's see. I've got a Doopy Dumpling, which... do I know you? Because you seem very familiar with me, and if I know you, I do want to talk and say, hey, what's up? Nice to see an intelligent right-wing Twitch stream. Well, thank you. I'm more of a Federalist than a right-winger. I gave up the GOP a long time ago. Nephilim Ninja says, I like her two-way stances. Now that the ninth is balanced, we can punt upwards confidently. That's an interesting take on this. And yes, that's going to be a big one coming up into this, is the fact that the 2A, a solid constitutionalist over on the 2A, is going to be deciding, possibly we can get nationwide castle doctrine and stand your ground. That would be nice. So we don't have, we have duty to retreat in Wisconsin, so that would be nice. Get some of the power out of the police and get it back into the hands of the people to defend themselves. Trump inherited a fantastic Manhattan property portfolio and income, but business track records is not great. We're going to be talking about that in just a bit here. He's written off massive losses against tax. He loses a lot of money. Nothing illegal about that. Well, yeah, we'll be talking. I've got that up on the chat because that came out yesterday. Nephilim says, you're totally right, Dumpling. All the great loopholes are for the rich. Doopy Dumpling says, maybe so. Trump's personal greed has always been at odds with public duty. Well, he's donated. He's donated a lot of his stuff, so I don't know. I'm still more concerned about the Fourth Amendment side of this than anything else. The fact that the Congress went around the Constitution in order to get their hands on something that they didn't have a reasonable search warrant to get. That's been my problem with this. Not necessarily. I don't care what's in the tax returns. I don't give a flying fuck. In fact, the less taxes people pay, the better. But DM and I are going to be talking about that here in just a bit. Thanks everybody for coming in, hanging out with us. I'm going to talk a bit about Amy Coney Barrett with this while I'm waiting, as I've run out of live chat at this point. We'll be talking more about the taxes in just a bit. So, with Barrett, Nephilim is right. This is going to be something that's going to be good for the 2A and everything else. Oh, we've got light. We've got a guest
and
here.
sound.
Everything good?
Sorry about that. Everything's good. We're golden.
So I was just talking.
And sorry.
Nephilim brought up a good point that I've heard other people talk about as well that went along with this, is the fact that one of the big things that could come out of a 6-3 conservative majority over on the Supreme Court is going to be, could we possibly see a nationwide stand your ground law and castle doctrine nationwide instead of the states coming up to this, which I'd be on board with that. Especially because that would take some... Go ahead.
Well, ultimately what that means is that people will be able to stand their ground no matter what, which here in Kansas, where I'm at currently, they don't allow you to defend yourself. Mm-hmm. They have certain... Well, you can, but it has to be very, very clear-cut dry that you did indeed defend yourself, but it also has to be equal force. Mm-hmm. So that's an issue I have problems with. But I think it would be kind of cool if they allowed everyone who likes to follow the law and things like that to be able to get their defenses on point instead of having to worry about what state says, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, I just found out about it with the Rittenhouse case. I thought that we had castle doctrine in Wisconsin. It turns out that we don't. We do have a duty to retreat law here. But yes, having somebody who could be possibly good on Second Amendment rights, seeing some cases come up to the Supreme Court. I mean, I don't like the fact that the Supreme Court is there making rulings that go directly to the people. I thought the Supreme Court was only to be there for interstate commerce purposes. But hey, as long as it's there in its present form, why not use the tools that are given to us?
Indeed, and I would agree with you there, because if you're going to have a government do what you want it to do and everything like that, and if you're going to have all these rights supposedly that the government says you have, and if these rights can get willy-nilly overturned or ruled indefensible or void for a certain amount of time because of a certain reason, then I don't really think you had those rights to begin with if they say that those rights came from the government.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my issue with that, because if you really already had those rights to be able to defend yourself regardless of what someone says, now it's because the authority is saying, nope, you can't defend yourself because we will be there to defend you, which is why we have police, so call us, don't do it yourself, is ultimately bullshit, because the police can't always be there. So when you're claiming that you can't do things for your own livelihood, you're claiming that you know better for the other person because you're the state and you are there for them, when ultimately you're just taking control of their life. If they can't defend themselves, they can't do anything really.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, is what I think.
And I mean, ultimately, I don't know what's going to happen with Amy Coney Barrett. I think one of the things that we're talking about, and we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, is what's going to happen once she's in the process. Which Dick Durbin came out over the weekend and said, well, we can slow down the process, but we can't stop it. It looks now that they're going to have the votes to confirm, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to see a circus trial like we saw with Kavanaugh 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And Elaine pointed out one of the other big things that goes along with this is the fact that Kamala Harris is on the Senate Judiciary Committee, which means guess where she has to be through all of this?
Yeah.
Sitting right there
You're going to beat out
ads.
in the engine.
Sitting right there making campaign ads, and I don't know if you've seen the news for the past few weeks, but it turns out that the Democrats, of whom Kamala Harris is a member of, have a real hard-on for people violating the Hatch Act.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that if she's up there making campaign ads by being tough on Amy Coney Barrett, I think I would count that as a campaign ad, wouldn't you?
That would be a violation of the Hatch Act as well. Actually, think about it. They're not operating within their thing, and they're all part of the, whoa, hold up a second. No, because legislature is different. All right, so you have three different branches of government: judicial, executive, and legislation. Legislation, they say, doesn't really apply to it. It's only the executive branches that have certain rules they have to follow to not, void the Hatch Act, which is executive figures that's president and vice president, I guess, are exempt from this. So that means you're left with police officers, sheriffs, mayors, governors, shit like that, But those are also still technically part of the legislative branch as well.
Oh yeah, they just
House and Senate is.
Didn't they just slap DeVos with that a few days ago?
I think so.
So, well, I didn't realize that the Hatch Act didn't apply to legislatures. That's ignorance on my part. I apologize for that one there.
Well, I believe that's what it is. I also could be wrong on there because I did a quick little research on that really fast to see if I know what I'm talking about. So if I missed the portion, that's also my bad. But I believe it's just for executive purposes, where the president and vice president are exempt from whatever it is.
So, honestly, one of the things that I've noticed while I was looking or watching this throughout the week is I've actually been a little bit disappointed with some of the reaction coming out of this. I mean, after what we saw with Kavanaugh and, this massive gang rape, train rape, everything else off of this, I was expecting fire and brimstone to come out of Democrats here, but I think they've realized at this point that they can't really go that hard on a woman this close to an election. Because that will alienate every part of their base.
Yeah, with the whole intersectionality thing, they're really shooting themselves in the foot with this. And some people say that Trump knows what he's doing, which is why he selected her specifically. She's a suburban mom. He was been trying to get suburban mom vote, all that good stuff. She's a woman, A. B, she also has intersectionality with their children. She's fucking raising 2 Haitian kids, right?
Yes.
Or, yeah, 2 Haitian children. So it's like, oh, yep, see, she's very diverse. Here we go, guys. Sweet stuff. Media can't really dog on her. Oh, but they are going to dog on her. And how they're going to do it through the policy and the rules and everything like that. I'm like, oh, no, she's going to do this.
And her faith.
Again, they're going to bring up her past. Yep, and her faith. Like, oh, she's this. Yeah, but you guys are letting a Muslim. Why does faith have anything to do with it in the first place, honestly?
Well, it is
I thought faith was an individual thing, so...
It's against the Constitution for them to go after to administer a religious test.
Yes, it is, because the separation of church and state. Now, if they try to say, oh, that religious test is to make sure that we have separation of church and state, that's probably what they're going to try to say. But when you're still trying to say there needs to be separation of church and state, but then all of a sudden this Muslim person, takes the same test, but they're allowed to go further. Did you discriminate on them, or did they answer the questions right? How is this test written? Who wrote this test? Why is it written that way? Shit like that.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't allow separation of church and state. It allows it even more so. It's interwoven through background saying, no, this is the way it has to be.
I love that you brought up separation of church and state, the one part of the First Amendment that the progressive left knows.
Yeah, right? Like me, I don't really care either way. Have your religion. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just don't make me have to live by it, I thought that was a personal thing anyway. So do your own thing with your God. It's cool. I don't care. I'm not here to stop you.
Yeah, and
as long as you don't try to stop me from not caring.
Like I said, I can't wait for the fireworks on this one, because this is going to be a fun one. This is going to be a
I'm waiting
sit down.
November 3rd.
Yeah, this is going to be sit down with popcorn and watch this here. And I mean, there's still, I think part of what we're seeing with the Cambridge Analytica story, which I am definitely going to be talking about with Elaine next week, but with that coming out in the tax returns, I do think that they're going to try and do an impeachment again.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I kind of want to see it. I really do.
All this past 4 years, all it's been is just trying to get this guy out of office.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't like the orange man, get him out. And all the media companies agree with him. All of, because, it's not only media companies, it's corporate entities who are agreeing with him too. Because when it comes down to it, they're like, oh, the safer route is to say that we are progressive. We're progressing with society because this is what society wants. So we're saying, yeah, we agree with them, even though people like me and you and a few others, even though we're all different on the political spectrum, I'm not even on that bitch, I like to think. But you have all these people saying, no, we don't agree with that, but we all have to deal with it because that's the way they said, no, but it's safer to go this way because everyone's accepted. No, but you guys just discriminated against that person because of this reason, whatever the fuck. He didn't align with you politically. Like, my opinion gets me discriminated against all the time. That's why I stopped giving a fuck about that. And it's like, all right, if you don't like it, you don't like it. So, but you have all these rules and things, people trying to say you need to do this, do that. And at the end of the day, it's all bullshit.
Well, and speaking of the tax returns, I want to touch on that one here for just a bit, even though I've already done 2 live streams pretty well dedicated to this. I wanted to get your take on this. So, for those who don't remember at this point, let me find the article that I pulled up for this. Maybe I didn't. That sucks. Well, anyway, I've done 2 live streams about it. I know what happened. So this past Sunday at about 5:30 p.m. Central Time, the New York Times came out and said, we have obtained Trump's tax records. We have obtained them legally. Don't try and add us at this, but we've obtained Trump's tax returns, and he only paid $750 in taxes the year that he became the president and the year after that. And he didn't pay any taxes for 10 years prior to that. And that the article was very, very lengthy. I archived it. I've posted it up everywhere. It's a very lengthy article. There are no documents that are released at this point. But apparently they have come up and they've said that, well, Trump only paid $750 in taxes and he's a billionaire. And he might not be as rich as he says that he is. Now, I think what they did is a blatant violation of the Fourth Amendment. But they used the media to go around it because Congress has been after those records since Trump came into office. But I wanted to get your take on this, and what do you think about all of this?
Well, hopefully I'm not a fan of taxes at all. Everyone assumes that nonsense.
Yeah,
like, taxes, fuck that. I'm not a comic. Get out of here about that, right? All right, anyway. So when it comes down to violation of the Fourth Amendment, right, you have people saying, oh, well, we need to know what his taxes are because, he runs all these businesses and he's running for presidency. It's the right of people to know what he's done so we can make the best informed decision on who we should elect to be this person for us, right?
Mhm.
But my whole thing on it is, honestly, if this is logically, to me, it makes sense to say that, yeah, anyone's tax returns are able to be grabbed at because taxes are supposedly what funds the government. And if we're all funding the government, then all of our funds should be able to be looked at immediately. Logically, makes sense to me. But problem is with that is you have, because of the way they have it set up, you have everyone exactly what they buy, which means that itself, you say, oh, I know where he's going to be here. You can develop someone's pattern off of that and say, all right, this dude is going to be at this store buying this. Usually he gets this on this day or whatever the fuck. Whatever receipts they bring, whatever deductions they get, you can figure out everyone's life that way, right? Of course, they might have like, oh, social security number, if we redacted that, so don't worry or whatever, you know, all that stupid shit. But you can still figure out who they are based on what they bought, where they're going, all that good crap. So that itself would be a huge breach of privacy as well. I'm not a fan of that. So logically, it's like, well, if we want to know someone's taxes in order to make a decision on who they are as a person, the question is, why do we have to have the taxes tell us what kind of person this is? If we're trying to say that the leader needs to pay his taxes in order to say he's patriotic, then how is he a Nazi if he's supposed to be this nationalistic fool, but he never paid his taxes? And that's the argument they're going with there. So it's like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
No.
And so, to me, I don't find taxes very patriotic at all. We threw tea over the harbor for 3% or some shit, right? So
Yep.
there's reasons that taxes are bad, but there's also reasons why they say taxes are good, supposedly. I'm not a fan of the good arguments. It's all extortion, because it's like, give me your money, I'm going to shoot you in the head. But it's more, you know, through loops before they actually get there, and if you don't pay your taxes, they're going to show up with ATF or where the fuck does that show up with, guns saying, hey, you're going in a cage now, and we're going to steal your shit and sell it. So I'm not too much of a fan of it. And having everyone blow up about how Trump's taxes, he only had, you know, $750 that's owed to him or whatever that he was supposed to pay, but he paid like $8 billion or whatever the facts are. All it really is saying is that we want people to pay more taxes, and he's one of the billionaires that we want to tax so much, and this is how he's dodging it. So vote for Biden because he's going to get rid of all those loopholes that all these billionaires like Trump have evaded to not pay taxes. Well, I'm just like, I don't care. Get rid of the taxes because your system's already garbage in the first place. Places with the most taxes, like your East Coast or West Coast and East Coast, I should say, the most populated areas happen to be Democratic, and they also have really high taxes, and they're all garbage cities. So they have a lot of small businesses too, but all those are mainly gone too because of COVID shit, right? So like what they really want to do is cripple society, is what it seems like. Oh, we're going to tax these guys even more. These guys will leave and go to other countries because they don't want to have to deal with that tax bracket. And actually, we already have the highest tax bracket anyway, at 39% for companies here in U.S. for trade, which is why they went to China and overseas anyway. I'm not sure if Trump got rid of that yet. That was like a long time ago I saw that number, so that might have changed since then. But that's the last I remember, because I'm just not a fan of it anyway. But yeah.
Well, one thing, and I got to ask you if you think that this is a possibility, because I think this is going to backfire on the left. Now, a lot of people, especially in the middle to lower class, the people that are complaining about the fact that Trump only paid $750 in taxes, I don't believe that a lot of them know what they pay in taxes. And now you see the tweets going around Twitter, which I know 2% of the country is on Twitter. It seems like it's a lot more, but there's only 2% of the country that's on Twitter. Now, a lot of them are asking, okay, who paid more in taxes than Donald Trump? I don't think a lot of them know what they paid in taxes, and I think a lot of them are going to find out pretty quick what they're paying to the government to get shitty service back from that. And I think that
you
might
can actually find out really quick.
Yeah. I think that might start changing how people see taxes in the governments.
Definitely.
Hopefully.
If they're going to see
anyway.
like, oh, I'm paying them. Well, yeah, if you look at your paycheck, like minimum wage is garbage anyway. Close was 15. That's not going to help anything. Anyway, if you look at your paycheck, you're going to see what you make an hour. And you add, they have it all totaled up, your pay stub. They have what they take out right there. For me, depending on what job I had, it was anywhere between $25, depending on my hours, to $200 that week. So it's like, oh, he only paid $700 for the whole year. No, guys, that's total. Look at your total for the year. You pay way more than that in taxes if you're working than $700. You're paying like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That's why when you go in and say, hey, what you're doing when you're filing is telling the government, here's what I paid you. Now, if you think I paid you too much, you got to give me that refund, which
Mm-hmm.
if you make under a certain amount, they give you that refund. So, and it's really kind of funny if you look at that saying, it's like, oh, so the people who are taking my money know how much they take from me, but they want me to tell them how much they took from me so they can give me back what they shouldn't have took from me, but they took anyway. So it's just really funny, I think, personally, on taxing. But I'm not a fan of taxes. I haven't had to file mine in a long time anyway.
Yeah. I wound up owing in this year, but yes, and like you said, I know what I make per hour, I know what I make per year, and I know what I bring home. Because I look, and one of the things, my job did away with paper checks completely. Like, you don't even get a stub anymore. I have to go online to see what I got paid for the week.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course, then if you don't get that paper check in your hand and it's all direct deposited, guess where you're not looking? You're not going up and seeing what got taken out for taxes or anything else like that. And I think, yeah, like I said, a lot of people are going to get a real rude awakening when they find out how much they're paying in to the government for taxes and not getting jack shit back for it.
Oh, yeah, definitely, dude. They're going to be like, why am I paying this much and these roads aren't done? I know that if everyone has the job I have, and like even their best friends, we just gave the government $20,000 collectively, because there's like 10 of them or whatever. We just gave them like $20,000 and we still have this crappy ass road, which we just looked at the prices. If we wanted to build our own road this big, it'd be half that to have a company come out and pave it. Why is our road not fixed?
All right. I got one more here before we hit another quick chat break here. This past week, Ron Paul was doing a live stream, and he suffered a very, very strange episode. He started slurring his words. It turns out that he had a small, it's not sure if he had a mini stroke or a stroke or anything else like that, but yes, he had a medical issue up on camera. Now, a lot of people came out and said that, yes, this was probably good that this happened on the live stream because he got the medical attention that he needed right away, and he is doing fine. He made sure to tweet out this photo here with his thumb up to show everybody that he is in the hospital, he's in good spirits and doing well. We wish him as many years as the good Lord will give him at this point because he is 85 years old. It is unfortunate, but true, he is on borrowed time at this point, but he is doing well. He's in good spirits. I don't know what your relationship is with Ron Paul or his ideals, but what did you see off this story?
Well, honestly, I saw, that it really sucks for, he made a career, he's a career politician, man.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're going at things for years, no matter what you're doing, you could be working on a car or you could be trying to defend someone. If it's your career and you've been doing it for a minute, fuck, dude. And if you're that old, shit's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to give him shit for it. And I really do hope the best for him. He's actually one who helped me lean on towards the libertarian side to start getting into politics. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. My uncle was there, so like he's my guy, back in 2008, I believe, is when he was running.
Mm-hmm.
So
2008 2012.
Yeah. And so I really dug him then in 2008 especially. That's when I was in high school. I was actually about to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was looking into it. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, That's dope. So, like, I'm really glad that he's good now. Yeah. But also at the same time, I'm not going to, worship him. I didn't cry or anything like that. Like, how these people are saying, like, oh, I'm crying such a bad day. It really does suck. Honestly, I feel that it sucks ass. I'm glad he's good. But I'm not one that has a deep, huge connection with him just because he influenced part of my ideas.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I did see a lot of that when all of this happened as well. I mean, when I did the old show, when I had a different guest on every week, I did pull a lot of guests out of Liberty Twitter to come and have this conversation, and you would not believe, well, you probably would actually, how many times I heard the same story over and over again. Ron Paul was how I got into Liberty. That's how I came down the Liberty movement. He started millions, probably not millions maybe, but thousands of people for sure into the Liberty movement. Now, he didn't start me into the Liberty movement, but I respect all of the people that he did start into this. So, yes, while you said that you didn't cry for him, a lot of people did. This hit a lot of people really hard. I don't know if you saw anybody.
And, like, I don't judge them for. Yeah, I don't see that people crying for him as a bad thing either. But the problem comes when those same people who did cry for him make fun of the people who cry for others. Because we just had SCOTUS die. And so it's like, oh, well, we made fun of them for crying like it's the end of the
Well,
world.
yeah, and
Then all of a
people
sudden,
worship that
these
woman
guys are
too.
crying. Yeah, and now it's people like, oh, now we're crying because Paul had a minor stroke, but he's still good.
Hmm.
Okay, guys, come on now. Are we all humans, or are we just gonna shit on each other? What's up, you know? So me personally, I understand like death and biology happening. I understand those a lot better than other things that happen, you know.
Hmm.
So like death to me is like, okay, that happened, that sucks ass, but hey, now we know exactly we can move on from death. Death is what life is. Like they are. You can't have one without the other. And so like if he died, it probably would have been easier, but because he's not retarded or anything like that, he's still healthy, he's still chugging along. Hell yeah, dog, keep it up. Like he's a great man. I respect his ideas fully, but I'm just not one to put my being into someone that is not relatively close to me. Like, okay, there are some bands that, you know, I'd cry if like one of the lead singers died, probably like, oh, that hurts my soul.
Hmm.
You know, I'd cry a little bit, maybe. But that might be because I find a personal connection with music and art more than I do with politics, which I'm not judging anyone for feeling the way they do. Of course not. That's not at all what I'm saying. If you feel like you need to cry because someone died, dude, cry your eyes out. I'm not judging you. I'm a little bitch. I cry all the time. When, not even regardless of politics. This is because, you know, I'm a depressed little cookie monster. But, you know, like, no worries there, man. I feel for the guy. I'm glad he's all right, though.
All right. We are going to catch up with a little bit of live chat here, and then I got just a couple more topics to round out the show. I've got Doopy Dumpling back here. I caught up with most of what he or she said. I can't really tell off of this one. But Doopy Dumpling says, true and important constitutional detail, evidence like that should not be admissible. Yeah, that's true, but I mean, this is, and that was back when I was talking about the Fourth Amendment violation, because, yeah, Congress went directly around the Constitution in order to get their hands on this, which they have desired forever. And I keep saying, why does it? I mean, Nancy Pelosi, you're in the position to make the law. If you want it to be the law that the president has to release his tax returns in order to be president, you're in the position to change that. You'd be violating the Constitution, but you are in a position to make that law and see if it passes the Supreme Court or not. But she didn't do it. She just worked around it.
That's the funny part about legislation, man.
Yeah. Harvey McLeod says, what are they going to do? They can't play racism. They can't play rape. Did you see the meme of David Hogg going around that says, so there I was, and Amy Coney Barrett was scissoring my face against my will?
Nice. No, I haven't, but I like it.
I thought that was funny. So they attack her religion. She also says, saying that she'll bring her ideals to the court, except they didn't mind when RBG did it. Yeah, that's true, because they were the ideals that they liked with RBG. As I just mentioned a moment ago, they worshipped that woman.
Mm-hmm.
Ruth! You only had to make it to 2021! That crazy fucking bitch.
Oh, man. That was insane.
I'm driving in a car and I'm freaking out. Well, pull the fuck over, you moron.
The brake is the left pedal.
Well,
and it was go, go, go.
Doopy says, well, if Biden can't black up and sing Old Man River, Trump applying for a bit of quick tan, why not? It was all ripped from the French. Analytic, I'm up for that. The Chill Anarchist is back. He says he had to run for a bit. Doopy Dumpling says, where's the nice redhead lady?
I'm right here.
Yeah. I forget where I think she went up to New Hampshire earlier today. I know that she got on the flight. So, yes, we knew in advance that she wasn't going to be here for this. And we wish her safety on her travels. She will be back here next week, where more people will be pissed off with the government and try to rip it back apart. Because I'm sure that's not going to stop for the next 4 weeks.
Oh, of course not, dude. We're just going to just amp up, and I'm just going to sit there, eat popcorn, and watch it.
Doopy Dumpling says, well, I have to say I'm up for the wealthy paying their taxes or getting imprisoned. Harvey says, yeah, didn't he donate his salary?
He did. He donated his whole salary.
Yes. He gave his companies to his children. He donated his salary, so of course he didn't pay that much. Well, no, he didn't really. He gave his companies to his children, but he still has a controlling interest in them. He didn't divest as much as he was supposed to. Let's see. Doopy Dumpling says taxes for 1,000 years have been enforced, and they're still theft. The right to
Yep.
levy taxes is the stuff of war through history. You can moan and whine about it all you want and dream, but you'll be paying until you're dead. Unless you're rich.
Or you just don't and wait for the authoritarian pig to come knock on your door and either go out cold or you do. Either way, it doesn't matter. They're going to want their money anyway.
Let's see. Harvey says I pay 30% per check. I'm like at 38 between state and federal.
That's a pretty hefty amount.
Yeah, between everything, I figured it out. I actually found an equation. When I worked at the old location, because my job has multiple locations around here, and there's one that's 5 miles from my house, but I was working at the one that was 40 miles from my house for a long time, and I was pretty broke at the time because gas in a 2011 F-150 is not cheap. So I actually figured out the equation to figure out how much I would get per hour with the overtime, because I could figure out what my gross payment was going to be for the week.
Yeah.
And I could get down to a couple of cents as to what my net was going to be, and it was like 38% was what it wound up being taken out. So,
wow.
Doopy Dumpling says, well, in the UK we have free health. Average is around 25% for regular good jobs. Guess your military ticket is big. Well, don't forget we're paying for your military too. So.
Oh shit! Oh snap!
I'm sorry, but that's especially when the Bernie Sanders
truth, though, dog.
The Bernie Sandersites come out there and say, well, Norway has this healthcare, this much healthcare. They can do this, and their marginal tax rate is, yeah. Well, the U.S. is taking care of their military.
Shit.
The taxes are hurting. You have to respect that people really try. Free thinking, good or bad. See a lot of right jumping on anarchy these days. I don't like the anarchists of any hue, red or blue. And I'm a federalist, and my guest is an anarchist. So, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I don't judge you.
Yeah. Nephilim Ninja says the difference between RBJ, or I think he means RBG, and Ron was that she made her life and death a political theater. Yeah, that's true.
Oh.
Spartan says rich guy not doing creative accounting is like a fat person not taking a poo. And Toopy Dumpling called me right back out, and that's where we're going to leave it until we get through these next topics. And I'll call it to him. Says bullshit. We have a big military spend and go on these half-ass wars with you. That is fair.
Yep. And MI6 is yeah, they work a lot with our CIA.
All right. We've got a couple to bust through here. A lot of this is just going to, I think, be some quick hitters, but I think we're going to go just a touch over time, if that's okay with you. I've got you for 2 hours,
Yeah.
but...
Yeah, that's good. We can go touch over time. It doesn't bother me. I apologize for having to take care of some shit during the middle.
No, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. You got to do your life first. So let's talk about the Durham report coming out here. Where is my Durham article? Why is my web browser taking so long? God damn it. I just switched to Brave, and it takes for fucking ever. This was supposed to be the one that freed up memory. All right. So, reading from the New York Times, a former newspaper, in a politically charged inquiry, Durham sought details about the scrutiny of the Clintons. This is from Adam Goldman, William K. Roshbaum, and Nicole Hong, because it takes 3 people to write a politically charged article, apparently, over at the New York Times. From the beginning, John H. Durham's inquiry into Russia investigation has been politically charged. President Trump promoted it as certain to uncover a deep state plot against him. Attorney General Bill Barr rebuked the investigators under scrutiny, and he and Mr. Durham publicly second-guessed an independent inspector general and traveled the globe to chase down conspiracy theories. It turns out Mr. Durham also focused attention on a certain political enemy of Mr. Trump, the Clintons. Mr. Durham, U.S. Attorney in Connecticut assigned by Barr to review Russia inquiry, has sought documents and interviews about how federal law enforcement officials handled an investigation around the same time into allegations of political corruption at the Clinton Foundation, according to people unnamed familiar with the matter. So, for those who are keeping score at home, the Durham investigation is looking into the origins of the Russia probe, which was looking into a possibility that there was Russian interference that was mandated by President Trump into the 2016 election. And if you are keeping score at home, Kamala Harris is trying to open an investigation into the Durham probe. So the Durham probe is an investigation into an investigation, and Kamala Harris is currently trying to open an investigation into an investigation into an investigation. It's investigationception. What's your take on any of this?
Well, at the end of the day, all these people are going to have investigations all the time because they want certain things to go their way. It's like, well, the evidence didn't line up with us this way, so we have to do an investigation to make sure it does this way. And if it didn't, then that means someone was trampling with our investigation, so we got to investigate the investigators. And that way, at the end of it, we're going to have our way and we're going to win because our justification is solid. And because it's the law. It's always going to be the end of it. It's a law, that's why. The law wrote it that way. That's why I don't like the whole, like, if you don't like the law, then why don't you go change it? Well, if the laws can be willy-nilly changed, why are they even there in the first place?
And once again, this goes back to the argument that a lot of these laws that are on the federal level don't have any business being at the federal level. It's part of the reason that I went to the Federalist Party, which is now defunct at this point, but I still most align with that because there are people in California that are going to want to have the boot over them no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
There are going to be people in Wyoming that never want to see a federal agent in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
The states can determine the amount of government that the people want and need at their own level, and we don't need to have these overarching federal mandates.
Well, because, let alone that, we don't need the agencies either.
Right.
Really.
Yeah, the FBI was supposed to be a temporary agency to go after Al Capone.
Yep, the taxes also to fund, who wrote taxes? Was it? Taxes were all supposed to be temporary as well. Mm-hmm. They weren't supposed to be a huge thing held on for years and years and ever.
No, the income tax was supposed to have a sunset on it.
Yeah, there's nothing in the Constitution at all that says anything about taxes. Zero, not even a declaration. It says nothing about taxes. It's like, okay, so why are we paying it? Oh, because some dude wrote it, some president said, yeah, we need some extra funds, so we're going to take some from you guys to do this. Don't worry, it's going to end. So when you look at all these legislators, and like we were discussing earlier, when it became they weren't servants of the people, that might have been a turning point. But I think actually the turning point was way before that, because it had to have been in order for him to say, no, I can totally do that because then I can justify it.
But of course they're going in, and once again, this is to an extent politically charged, but so was the Russia probe. So they can't really bitch about the fact that they're going after Clintons right now because, I mean, Christopher Steele was paid off by the Clinton Foundation. So this is political no matter which way you put it.
Of course. And the fact that politics is so interwoven into the culture these days, especially with the quick communication that we have, the internet has done wonders. It's a beautiful thing. It proves a lot of things that I talk about. It also has done a whole bunch of terrible things that I'm like, yeah, I'm not a fan of that either, you know? Like, so the fact that it's all so ingrained into our daily being is like, we can't go a single day without hearing about the president now or some kind of speaker or a governor, mayor, police, this, that. Politics is so everywhere and it's instant and it's always there. And we have all this bickering and arguing about it.
I'm not going to feign ignorance on this. I know that I'm contributing to some of that too, by having a channel
me too. Don't worry. I love shitting on all of it, and I also love participating in it. I love finding the loopholes, actually discussing ideologies, thoughts, philosophies. It's whatever to me. Like when people start trying to be clever and like start trying to get me like gotchas, I know most of them, and I'm like, nah, you ain't gonna. Nope, you got to be really clever to get me over. You ain't doing it. And so then once people starting to be very insincere when they start talking to me, then I'll shitpost them for sure. But yeah, no worries. We both contribute to the chaos quite a lot. Me, I might set some fire to it and help it more, but you know, this is what I do.
Well, on the opposite side of everything, Hunter Biden has brought himself into just a little bit of hot water himself. According to the New York Post, Senate report links Hunter Biden to prostitution or human trafficking ring. Hunter Biden allegedly sent thousands of dollars to people who appear to be involved in the sex industry, according to Wednesday's report released by Senate Republicans. The report claims unspecified records show that Biden has sent funds to non-resident alien women in the U.S. who are citizens of Russia and the Ukraine. Collusion! And who have subsequently wired funds that they have received from Hunter Biden to individuals located in Russia and the Ukraine. And the first thing that I always say about anything, any of this whatsoever, anytime I bring something, especially with the duopoly, take the same story and switch the parties. Tell me what the headline would read if this was Don Jr. or Eric or even fucking Tiffany for that matter.
White supremacist shows
Yeah.
a whole bunch of hidden funds in sex ring in Dubai or some shit. You know? Like off-country shore accounts lead this person to this white supremacist group that said that these women are property or whatever the fuck. I don't know, man.
This whole Hunter Biden thing has just been ridiculously stupid.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that none of this came up before Biden was nominated. I mean, part of this does seem to me that this is just another season of Federal Apprentice, and the writers are just going out of their way to make it as ridiculous as possible, hoping that it gets picked up for another 4 seasons.
Right? I mean, what are they all going to do when Trump is no longer president? Like, let's say he does win this cycle, and they bitch about it for another 4 years. What's next?
And it's just going to get crazier and crazier.
How are they going to make their money? Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's going to be somebody that's not Trump, and there's going to be a vacuum in the media, which I think the media is going to be dead by that point.
Oh, dude, you know what I really hope they do? It's like, I kind of secretly hope they try this on me, because I'd be like the perfect person to try it on. Try to like smear me, because I'll just be sitting there like, oh, you're smearing me? Here's some extra shit. I'll rub it in there for you. How's that feel? Oh, you guys don't know how to handle that. Oh, don't worry. Here, I'll take the mic for you and tell everyone that I'm a piece of garbage, so you don't have to. Like, there's so many things that the media tries to do with people, and like cancel culture is part of that. You know, cancel culture is its own thing, which, like I said, appeals to authority earlier. But
yeah, and I mean, we can shame people into compliance too. I mean, a lot of stuff we have out there, we don't need police for.
No,
shame is a thing. I mean, shame on the left seems to not exist, but
yeah, I mean, and shame is also a personal feeling. Like, you can try to shame someone, but if they don't feel shame, nothing's going to change. You know, they have to feel ashamed in order for that shame to work. Where like someone like me, you can try to shame me, like, oh, look at this person, blah 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 blah, and then all of a sudden I'm just going to pull down my pants and go, yeah, whatever, what's up? Yeah, these are heart boxers. What you got to say about it? You know, like, shame me. So, like, there's certain things that, you know, people will be affected by, and definitely shame is one of them, for sure, dude. You can't knock that. A lot of people feel emotions for a reason. We're not perfect people. Like, people are not perfect, and you can't expect it to be. And trying to say, like, oh, this person has to be this way, so we're going to shame them into that all the time is not really all the ways it works, but it will work for some people. You just got to find out which person it'll work for, and if it doesn't work for that person, all right, talk to him differently. How can you convince him to go the way you would like things to go, instead of trying to force it, you know?
Yeah. And once again, now we've got Hunter Biden out here, and he's taking Russian hookers. I wonder if Hunter Biden's Russian hookers are pissing on a bed somewhere.
Probably.
All right.
Just, you might want to get checked for STDs, though, man. I swear. Probably some hookers have some nasty stuff. Well,
Right.
if they're the pricey ones, they might be taken care of, you know, kind of like porn stars. Oh, nope, we test them before they, you know, go on screen or whatever the fuck. That might be the same case. Some of these prostitutes, like, no, we're high class, so our girls are tested. They're this, they're clean girls, no pregnancies, blah, blah, blah. You know, the whole sales pitch. If you're trying to have a product and she's a product, well, here's my product, so buy it. You know, if I'm going to have something going on to where if there's health risks in it, I'm like, all right, cool, here's what I'm going to do for this. You know, it might be black market shady shit, but that's how you're going to do it, right? That's also why they asked the pimp, like, hey, dude, how are we going to control these bitches?
All right. I got a story here. You might not have as much to weigh in on this one here, but this is probably important to the audience. This has to do with the YouTube community. So Matt Christensen tweeted out, what day did he tweet this out? I believe it was Thursday. Susan's pre-election meddling engaged. Nobody wants this crap. Team YouTube creators Susan Wojcicki, stop making it harder for people to succeed on your platform before you MySpace yourself. This came in response to this letter that was in Matt's inbox that came from YouTube, and actually I feel like I might have been affected by this as well. Let me pull the website up here so I can read it, because my OBS stream has got very, very tiny print. So the letter reads, "Hi, Matt Christensen. We are contacting you to let you know that starting September 22nd, 2020, we're expanding our age restriction effort as part of our ongoing commitment to keeping YouTuber creators and viewers safe. We'll be expanding the use of automated systems along with our team of expert reviewers to apply age restrictions to videos that aren't appropriate for all ages. With greater safeguards in place, you may see videos on your channel placed behind age restriction, which limits the content to viewers who are 18 years old. We anticipate little to no impact to your videos' monetization, as age-restricted videos are likely not suitable for all advertisers and will already have been rated as limited or ineligible for ads. As always, you can appeal an age restriction if you believe this was applied in error," and he highlighted this point right here. "We're also adjusting the way our age restriction works off YouTube, prohibiting age-restricted videos to be viewable when embedded on most third-party sites. Users that click on an age-restricted video on another website will be redirected to YouTube, where they will only be able to view the content when logged in." Now, in another tweet, Matt points out, just to emphasize how big of a joke this is, there's no actual age verification. Of course, it's just self-reported. Team YouTube does not care about preventing minors from accessing adult material. They just want tools to suppress views they don't like. That was quite the long speech, and I apologize for taking up that much time off of this one. But so basically what this boils down to is, and I've seen a bunch of videos get slapped with age restriction. I get emails almost every day saying, this video from this time is age restricted. I had one from right at the beginning of my channel that is now age restricted that never was before. I got the email yesterday about. So that's 3 years ago at this point.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you might get hit one with this one if they look at any of my language. Sorry about that.
You've never seen Contemporary, have you?
No.
I usually have birds up at least once in every morning episode. For something.
Oh, hell yeah. Let them fly, bro.
The other part of this is if it is age restricted. So if you take this video for whatever reason and go and embed it over on Facebook as an embedded link, your Facebook friend is no longer going to be able to watch it on Facebook. He is going to have to go over to the YouTube site, which it'll be redirected over there, and sign in. He won't be able to be signed in just with Facebook anymore. So this is really restricting to a lot of people. A lot of people trying to make content. This makes sharing videos that they don't like almost impossible. Because you can either go to the website, which, I mean, everybody's usually signed in by default anyway for YouTube, but that takes the extra step for somebody to get that and not just see it while he's sitting in his bed ignoring his wife and scrolling through Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on this?
Well, I have a whole issue with censorship in the first place, and I was just checking my phone battery here. I have it on the charger, but it seems to be depleting pretty quick. I'm on 1% left. So if I cut out on you, my deepest apologies.
I'll catch up with live chat then at that point if you do. So.
All right, sounds good. Anyway, my takeaway on that is the censorship comes from a point of like, oh, this is a private business, so we're going to say this because we have all of this kind of consumer base, so we're saying it's for the safety of everyone. We don't necessarily want children having this or that. And also, this is the same kind of argument that they're having with the police authority, right? They're having issues with authority taking responsibility for things. Well, and if that's the case, then why can't parents take responsibility for what their kids watch as well? Why does it have to rely on the business themselves saying, oh, no, we're going to make sure that this doesn't slip through? Oh, well, because, you know, I don't know if you remember, I remember seeing it. There's a whole big old scandal with a whole bunch of, like, childlike cartoons being, like, shown in adult ways and stuff like that. It's like,
Oh, yeah,
we gotta get rid of those. We don't want children because the algorithm showed those along with the child shows, and so that's why we're trying to tackle it. It's like, okay, well, there's a problem with your algorithm then, not necessarily the creators, because the creators might have tagged these certain things, but also if you're just going off of, oh, well, there's so many videos we can't all look through them. I understand that too, but you also might want to make sure your algorithm focuses on what actually is for kids and what isn't.
Well,
and
yeah, and
also,
I mean,
you have to
the algorithm
sign up for YouTube in the first place.
With the algorithm too, I mean, you can't look at Big Mouth and say that with the animation style that's in there, that anybody looking at that wouldn't think kids show without knowing anything about it. And it is definitely not a kids show, definitely.
Oh no, and so like you gotta like look at it and it's like, what's the audio like? What do they sound like? Which is why I said this might be gone, because I said fuck a lot. You know, I think I might have said nigga at one point. I don't know, because it just happened. So, but that's the kind of thing I don't, find right, because Matt's right. They could very much MySpace themselves because they're alienating their creators. Like, oh, well, we took this because we had to take steps because our algorithm shows, again, Big Mouth with Paw Patrol. We don't want that. It's not cool. Like, okay, we understand that. But also, your algorithm is messing up these guys who have nothing to do with the children aspect, because that child, his channel has nothing to do with anything a child would be watching, so why are you limiting him in the first place?
Right.
Oh, but it's discourse, it's politicals. Like, that's where it comes from. It's like, oh, well, you might be spreading misinformation, so for the safety of everyone else, we are the arbiter of truth in this situation, so now you're age restricted because you're telling people this wrong information. And so that's why I also have an issue with censorship, because it's saying that we are the arbiter of what you are saying, and what you are saying is wrong because we are the ones that are correct.
All right. Well, in the interest of time and the fact that you're running low on battery here, I'm going to skip this one about Wells Fargo, but I got a couple pieces of surprise stupidity for you. And the first one here, I told you about the one-off mic, but the first one here, you have no idea that this is coming here. But this is probably one of the stupidest things I saw this past week, and that is saying something. So this article, this is a blog post. It's actually from 2017, but it's resurfaced at this point with everything that we're seeing about race in this country. The article is called Life in a Shanty Town. It says, Us Too, why haven't more black women been sexually harassed? And don't worry, it gets worse. Internets. No one wants to be sexually harassed in the workplace, but everyone would like to think that they're worthy of being sexually harassed in the workplace. When I was sexually harassed at White Castle back in the mid-2000s, causing me to walk off the line mid-shift, it was one of the most difficult times in my life. But it was nice to know somebody wanted to take advantage of me. My concern is that not enough black women are being sexually harassed in the media. In the past few weeks, literally hundreds of women have come forward to allege sexual harassment and worse against Harvey Weinstein, James Toback, Brett Ratner, et alia, and a few, if any, of them have been black. I am not lying. That's actually written in this post.
Oh, man. Why not hashtag me too? Oh, fuck.
The writer goes on to describe the fact that Lupita Nyong, who was in, what was she in? It said it in here. Where is it? I can't see where it is off of this, but she was in, I think, Many Years a Slave or something like that. But yeah,
yeah.
She worked with Harvey Weinstein, and the author is actually asking why Harvey Weinstein didn't try to rape her.
Well, one knows that this might be a little funny thing off-put, and so I once had this friend. He told me that he wasn't racist; his dick was. Like he thought black chicks were beautiful. He just couldn't fuck them because his dick didn't want to. Oh so might be Harvey's case too. He's like, no, I love black women. Mr. Jones doesn't, or whatever the fuck he calls his dick. You know, like that shit's funny to me, man. That's great, dude. Why didn't he sexually molest me? Is it because I'm black? Of course, yes. Oh, fucking Christ. Why would you want to be? Like, because it feels good to know that I'm wanted. It's like, that goes to another pedophile joke. It's like, no one's going to fuck your kid. I know you think your kid's sexy enough for a pedophile to want to fuck your kid, but your kid looks like a potato, so no one's going to fuck your kid. So, that's a joke I heard from a comedian at one point in time joking about it, and I just think it's fucking hilarious. Because I'll just sit there and I'll literally joke about anything. So when it comes to like actual people making those claims, like, wait, that's not a joke? Like, that's a what? Which makes it even more hilarious to me.
Oh my goodness! If this channel isn't, they're gonna monetize my channel just so they can demonetize me for
Right?
this part of this episode.
Just for this, yeah, just for that.
So let's just take this the rest of the way to the dumpster here. So this video surfaced this past week. I gotta back this up here because for whatever reason I left this partially played here. So this video surfaced this past week. A woman was driving by a series of Trump supporters standing on the street corner having a mini rally. I believe this was in Washington, D.C. And she decided that she wanted to show how she really felt about them. Let's have a look at what that looked like. Got the birds up. But yeah, she leans out the window with her car in gear. And it's unclear whether or not she actually hit the car in front of her or if she slammed on the brake, but she leaned out the window with her car in gear. And there's the siren. So, I don't know how you feel about leftists or leftist politicians or anything else at this point. I dislike Barack Obama. I had issues with his supporters. I never felt so passionate about my disdain for Barack Obama that I would lean out of a car that is in gear to throw birds at his supporters. Have you?
No. I have yelled at police, "You don't know me," driving down the road just because it's funny to me. Like, look at them, "You don't know me." A couple of them are like, "What the fuck?" But yeah, I've never had any kind of desire to lean myself out while I'm driving, you know, unless I'm trying to do a stunt for some friends. But usually at that point, if there's people around, I'm not going to try to wreck my shit. So I probably wouldn't do something like that. I'm not a fan of leftists, man. They're insanely stupid. Like,
Well, I mean,
they're, oh god.
I don't know about you, but when I'm sitting in a traffic jam, I put the truck in park.
Yeah. Well, if it's like a train going by, I'll put my truck in park too.
Yeah. So yeah, if I'm just sitting there like that, I put it in park. But once again, you don't lean out the window and take your foot off the brake.
Yeah, no.
And the best part of it was the cops were right there.
God, the whole time, just watching it. Because, well, yeah, Trump support a rally, you know, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, we got to be here for everyone's safety." Oh, look at this dumb bitch. Oh, double this dumb bitch. Look at that shit. Insurance claim right there.
Well, like I say, it's not clear if she hit the vehicle in front of her or not. There did not appear to be any damage to either vehicle. But, I mean, you saw the jerk of the sudden stop of the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So it was either
there could be a...
She either slammed on the brakes and figured out what the hell she did, or, she popped the minivan that was in front of her.
Yeah. Either way, the authority's going to be there and claim automatically what happened. So whatever that dum-dum did, she's going to have some problems either way. Whether it's public shaming or whether it's, you know, a fine because she was recklessly endangering people from leaning out of her vehicle at a stoplight or whatever they decide to use for that, you know. There's so many things they could throw at her.
Yeah. All right. That's going to be a show. Let's catch up with the live chat here and get on out of here. And as soon as I'm done reading the live chat, I am going to hit the chest. So those of you who are usually on DLive that want to head on over to DLive and pick up the lemons from the chest, you've got a little bit of time to do that here. So go ahead and do that. Watching Trains Go By has a laugh for us. Ron Helton says, "Secession now, secession forever. Without the federal government in the way, it will be easier to remove tyrannical governors. Force if necessary. The states can enter into a compact for mutual defense, but there's no reason to continue this corrupt federal government." Watching Trains Go By says, "There was a lot less politics before they added the word identify to the mix. It changed everything." Pricey Dinosaur 49 over on Twitch, that's a new name over here, has a lesson on the party switch apparently for us. I don't know where he got the what he's railing against off of this, to be honest, because we didn't talk about anything about party switch, I don't think. But
I was It might have been when I was talking about the switch from how they were servants of the people to where now they're leaders of or controllers of.
But Pricey Dinosaur writes, Nixon was supposedly convincing these racist Dixiecrats to become Republicans, but only one did, Strom Thurmond. There's no second example. No one can name a second Dixiecrat who moved to the Republican Party. So what kind of case is that hinges on this guy? And this is the big switch that y'all talk about. The Democrats created the KKK, just admit it. And to that, I have to say, sir, this is a Wendy's.
Right?
Thank you, though. Watching trains,
I mean, they did, yeah. But
watching trains go by looks like it's going to get last word out of this. Kind of a slow night on the live chat. I apologize for any changes that caused anybody to miss the show here, but you can catch it back off of there. But watching trains go by is going to get last word out of the live chat and say, these people don't care. They're a party of a system of control that we are volunteering and paying them for. And let's not forget that they might be making less as people, but it's still a huge profit. And with that, I want to hit the DLive chest. So in about 10 seconds, you will all get an alert, and hopefully you come out and scramble for some lemons up off of this here. So, the last thing that I always did on Ed's World, that I don't usually do because we see Elaine every week at this point, is ask a little bit more about the guest here. So tell us about a hobby that you have that has nothing to do with work or politics. It could be an album that you picked up, a video game that you like to play, or a book that you like to read, just something that's helping you unwind at the end of the day currently.
hell yeah. Well, actually, I'll give you three. Obviously, I'm a chain smoker. I've probably smoked about 7 cigarettes or more during this whole chat. So I like to smoke cigarettes. I also indulge in a little bit of the devil's lettuce, wink, wink, right? You know.
Nice.
Beer is really delicious. Love me some beers. Stouts are the king. IPAs are just basic white bitch drinks. No offense if you drink IPAs. I'm just saying. We can discuss it on Twitter if you want to find me at ID10TS query. DM Mortem is my name on there, and you'll see me flipping you off in the profile picture.
And that is linked in the description
I like
below,
to,
by the way.
Oh, it is? Oh,
Yep.
Thank you. Cool. And then I also like to play The Witcher 3 currently on my Switch. That's really fun. I have about 55 hours in it, but I also try to play other RPGs. I'm really into RPGs because those are the best kind of video games. Just going out there, exploring open worlds, doing side quests, especially if they're really well built, like The Witcher 3 is, dude. Best shit ever. And the TV shows I really like to watch are Supernatural. That's like my #1 TV show ever. Supernatural. People might say, oh, you're such a girl for that. And you know what? Maybe. But it's good shit, okay? Stop judging. I like it. And then I also just got done watching the whole Avengers series again because I really thought that was something I wanted to do, and I did that this weekend, so that was pretty fun.
Well, I guess I can't really judge on Supernatural because I thought the show was going to be something completely different when I saw it on Netflix, but I just went through the entire series of The Good Witch.
Dude.
A Hallmark Channel show. I didn't think it was going to be a Hallmark Channel show either, but it wasn't bad. A little bit girly for my taste, but it wasn't bad.
Decent. Yeah, a lot of these horror shows are decent. Like, the one horror show I really liked was Haunting of Hill House on Netflix. That was really well shot, really well directed. Dude, the whole thing was top-notch horror TV show, I thought. It reminded me of the haunted house from, what is it? American Horror Story. That first season was amazing. American Horror Story, dude. I love that. That was great. I love me some horror.
Nice. I got to get the outro queued up here because we're going to be getting to about that point here. I think it's going to be about time to get on here. What do you think?
I would agree. Hopefully everyone has had their fill of my annoying voice.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming by and checking us out here. We stream live to DLive, YouTube, Twitch, Periscope, and Facebook. And if you're just catching up now and you didn't catch us live and you want to catch up the rest of it, we will be back on demand over on YouTube and over on BitChute.com. Or, hey, if you'd rather take us over on the go, you can find us over on the audio platforms. We are currently streaming to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and Spotify before Spotify shoots themselves in the foot with their Joe Rogan bullshit that they keep going. I didn't even get that up onto the stack this week, but that was some more ridiculousness as well. So you can catch us there. You can catch us on the go. And if you're over on iTunes, leave us that 5-star rating and a good review. That always helps us move up the charts and overcome Apple's algorithms. Lastly, you can catch up with our back catalog over on freedomscoop.com, your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. And we carry great shows such as the Daily Ignoramus, the Generational Gap, the Breakdown with Birkenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, and the Freckles and Brit Show, so you can come and check out all of those shows. Pick up some merch and help us support great creators. And lastly, from me, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. DM, why don't you lead us out here with some parting thoughts and some last words?
Alrighty, well, thank you guys for having me, and I hope everyone enjoyed their time. And something to think about would be what happens when you ask an authoritarian what happens if someone says no to their rules. So the most important question you can ask somebody is, what if the other person says no?
Take care, everyone. Have a good night.